I'm holding court, you standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down? I'm holding court, you standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down? They ain't believe in me in the beginning, but wanna hang around now they see me winning. I'm holding court, you standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down?
What's up, world? It's your boy Big Court from the Holding Court podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Uncle P's Pancake and Waffle Mix. It's available in all grocery stores nationwide. This is black owned, this is ours. Product outweighs talent every day. So remember, there's no limit to your success. Uncle P's Pancake Mix, available right now. What's up, world? It's your boy Big Court. We here on the Holding Court podcast.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? And today we got a very, very special guest. No bullshit, no cap. One of the most influential Sacramento artists, one of the most well-spoken, insightful, intelligent brothers I've ever spoken with. That's no cap, bro. He was an inspiration to me growing up, you know, being a rapper back in the day. And one of the most compelling stories, we're going to get into it, you know what I'm saying, the incredible, real, you know what I'm saying, X-rated.
Hey, yes, sir. Salute, man. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah,
Quite a privilege.
Man, I appreciate you coming, bro.
I appreciate you having me, man. People know I'm quite fond of you. I speak highly of you.
Likewise.
And, you know, a lot of people don't know that when I came home, you reached out to me
Yep.
and communicated yourself, expressed yourself where you stood, much like you just said. And I felt it was quite humbling for you to do that. And I see what you've done with your life. And a lot of us didn't make those decisions and elevate like that. And your relationship with P is honorable, quite honorable. And so it just was really important for me that you did that, and it stood out. And so, you know, your text messages, your phone calls, that's automatic responses. Cause,
Man,
you know,
appreciate
you
that,
come with
brother.
a specific quality. So I feel the same way about you.
Yeah.
Your intelligence, the way that you've dealt with economics and communicating generational wealth to people.
Yeah.
I've respected that, and I stand by that, period.
I appreciate that, bro. Hold on, man. Your intro to me can't be better than the intro I gave you. Man, I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. But, man, like, you know, it's when you came home, bro, I was so happy for you. It was so genuine. Not to take away from your experience, but I damn near felt like I did the time with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, you know, man, when you came in the early 90s, we was rocking so hard with you. It was that connection, you know, and even all the albums from inside and following everything you were going through.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was such an inspiration. And, you know, once you came home, I had to, you know, give you that word of encouragement, let you know, hey, I'm here, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You need anything, you know.
Yeah.
But then, you know, as we got to talk, I was like, God damn, I told my old lady, I said, man, this dude's smart. Like, you know what I mean? He's smart. And I know you and we would go back and forth about, I'd be like, man, the way you elocute, you so articulate. You know, it's like we challenge each other. You be like, oh, man, you know, the way that you know, convey your messages, this, that, the other. So we push each other to, you know, really get that message out there to the masses.
Yeah, they say steel sharpens
steel. Sharpens steel.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So many people determined to be the king. And, you know, I try to communicate the value of being a king.
Yeah.
You want to associate with kings. You want to, you know, every real kingdom had its allies, alliances. They married into other families, other kingdoms, strengthen the bloodline, you know, and we don't necessarily always think like that. And you and I shared that, and you share that in your life individually. I share that in mine. And so we bring that to the table when we come together. I highly value that.
Likewise, brother.
Man.
Likewise. Man, I want to go to the start, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Honore Brown. Before we even get to X-rated, you know what I mean? Man, let's start with Honore Brown.
Honore Brown.
I mean? Where are you from originally?
Yeah, I'm a Sacramento baby from birth. I was born at Methodist Hospital. My mother, her name is Jazz, and she's a beautiful woman. She was very young. She was 19 years old in Sacramento when she met my father, who was visiting from Alabama. And they had an experience that resulted in conception. And here I come. So I was born on July 30th in Sacramento at Methodist Hospital into a family that was the matriarch of my family, Maxine Love, a beautiful woman, born in Texas, and she migrated to California essentially following the Panther Party. So she went to Los Angeles first and what they were doing there, and then she went to the Bay Area. So some of us were born in LA, some of us were born, a generation before us was born in Texas. On my father's side, they were born in Alabama. On my maternal side, they were born in LA and then born in the Bay. And then she followed. They did the mayoral campaign in Oakland. So she was in Palo Alto. My older sister was born there. And then they followed the Panthers to Sacramento for the gun rights movement when they were doing all that. And I was born in Sacramento as a result of that. And things disintegrated with the party around that time, so they stayed there.
Okay.
So almost every generation after me on my maternal side was born in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
Been there ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what were you like as a kid, bro? I mean, did you always have this intellect and this, insight, or is that something that you acquired over time? I assume that it was probably, in you. It was already innate, but what was like
fostered.
As a kid?
It was fostered. I came, so my grandmother was very good with her words and her thoughts and her politics and how she felt about things. And that my mother is her firstborn child. And so my mother has a autobiographical photographic memory for better and for worse. And she's just a very astute student, a voracious reader.
Yeah.
And she pushed that on us. So the encyclopedias were always in the house, dictionaries. And she was big on music. And so music was always in the house. And I mean, she was on the edge of like digging into everything, finding everything. So she had records, vinyl was still vinyl then. It's making a comeback, but back then she had all these records and I used to dig through them and read the credits. And then when I wasn't doing that, I'm in the encyclopedia, I'm in the dictionary. And so my mom made vocabulary a real thing for us. And the way she was into calligraphy and the way she spelled our names became a thing. So to this day, I write my name exactly the way my mother did because I just thought it was pretty.
Wow.
So by the time I got to school, just trying to write like my mom, I was already ahead in writing and reading and comprehension. Yeah, and so I ended up jumping some grades.
Damn,
early.
Really?
Yeah, I jumped 2 grades in elementary school and 1 grade.
That don't shock me though. Yeah.
That
don't shock me.
Yeah.
That's funny, bro, because our stories are kind of parallel like that. Same thing with me. My mother had a very high IQ. She could speed read. She was very intelligent. My grandmother, I was raised by women. I was raised by strong women,
Me as well.
And education was a focal point in the house.
Yeah.
And my grandmother used to make me read the dictionary and the encyclopedia, and she would quiz me when I got home. So, proper grammar, it was no ebonics. I couldn't say ain't. I couldn't say, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So in elementary school, I was already, I had a robust, vocabulary. Yeah. I was already, you know what I mean, speaking like that. So I had the same experience. And it's funny, we hated it then, you know what I'm saying? But it became useful later in life.
They did.
Because one thing I learned is, and you probably know this to be true too in business, it's helpful because regardless of being formally educated or not, if you have good manners and can speak well, it gets you in doors that money can't.
It does. It absolutely does. And then there's advantages from the perspective of like what people perceive to be the capacity and capability to show up ahead of what they perceive where we should be.
Exactly.
You have some people who become allies because they would like that to be known. Like, wait a minute, I got somebody you need to meet.
Yeah, exactly.
For this reason. Oh, that's your perspective on African Americans.
Right.
I got somebody I need you to meet.
Right.
And it changes people's perspectives.
It does.
And so, yeah, I've had a lot of opportunities come to me because of that.
Me
from
too.
People who wanted to crush stereotypes.
Yep.
And they felt like I know someone that needs to be an ally that you need to meet. You need to know that's going to advance what you're doing. And it's going to change what you think about these people.
Exactly.
And so I've had that happen. It's advantageous.
It is, ain't it?
Yeah.
But see, and then what's advantageous about it too for us, like I know we're bilingual.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
'Cause that's one thing P always say, bro, I can take you to the boardroom, I can take you to the projects.
Yeah.
So we can talk that other shit too.
Yeah.
That's where we
Naturally.
came from. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I always preach evolution to the youngins. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to change. Like, think about that. A lot of times when we was in school, like we celebrate,
Ignorance.
ignorance, right?
We do.
So it's not cool to be smart. It wasn't cool to do your work. It wasn't cool to be studious. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the more ignorant you could be, the cooler and more accepted you were.
Truly.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know who fostered that psychology, but certainly it's a real thing.
Yep.
And now I think we're starting to see a shift.
Yeah.
A different kind of tide, of energy going into that, where people are now starting to say, being someone who is concerned about economics and politics and generational wealth and things like that. I think Nipsey was helpful in that regard.
Absolutely.
Jay-Z was very helpful
Absolutely.
with advancing in the education direction. And
yes.
I think we just have to make sure that the people who are in position to be heard are using their voices correctly. And not many of them,
Nah, they don't. I always say, we in a day of influencers, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I always ask people, you have influence. What are you influencing people to do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's the question.
Too.
Yeah, you can have a bunch of followers, but what are you leading them to?
I remember when Sibo and I were working on Till My Casket Drops. We got that album done, and it dropped, and it hit number 3 in the country. And Deadly Game was on that album. And it was like one of the first real songs I had ever written, because I wrote, most of my albums were written with a mask on. It was me being X-rated.
Yeah.
And then I start going through trial and things like that, and I started having real world issues, and it started bleeding into my music. And so that song and the 3 Strikes Law, and me being in that environment where people were coming in for stealing a slice of pizza and going to court and getting 25 to life.
Right.
With the so-called victim in there saying, I would have never called the cops if I knew you were going to give him a life sentence for stealing a slice of pizza. Right. He was hungry. I'd have gave it to him. I'll give him 20 pizzas for y'all to just let him go right now.
Right. Damn.
And I'm watching those men come back. It's like, a guy used the deodorant in a 7-Eleven and put it back on the shelf. They called the cops. He got 25 to life because he had been in some trouble before. And it's like, well, he did that nonviolent crime. He didn't hurt nobody. It's just a deodorant, man. Maybe we could talk to him about hygiene. At least he's trying to be clean. Like, how can we get you somewhere? Can you shower?
Yeah.
We just not concerned about what human needs are, the basic hierarchy of human needs. And I studied all that, Abraham Maslow, understanding that they didn't care about that. They only cared about penalizing people and then monetizing penalization.
Right.
And that's what it became about. So I'm watching that happen, and I start writing A Deadly Game. And that got out there, and Wendy Day starts looking for who's the author of these lyrics. I want to know who wrote that.
Right.
And so that led her to me. Monster Cody started Sanyika Shakur, rather call it Brother Sanyika Shakur.
Yeah.
He reached out to me, and that was when I heard from Tukey. And the statement, it was more of I took it as a directive, but it was someone with a voice as loud as yours has a duty to say something worthy of being heard.
Right.
And I'll never forget that. To come from him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a big deal. He's on death row.
Exactly.
We don't know, is he going to make it? Are they going to put him down?
Right.
We don't know.
Right.
And what he had been trying to preach to people about changing their lives and doing something different. And so, I started really trying to make sure that what I used my voice for was worthy of being heard. And I have my moments, where I get upset about something,
of course,
environmentally, and go off and be angry. But I always, you can hear that message throughout all of my art, really from then on. Yeah.
Nah, that's dope, and that's important, bro. That's important. We're more dangerous with our influence of positivity than we are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just think about it. We kill somebody, it's just that, okay? There's ripple effects. One go to jail, one dead, you've killed off a bloodline. But when you start inspiring minds, millions of minds to start, moving in a direction, then that's a real threat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's an even bigger threat than picking up a gun, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, in this country, that's so true.
Yeah.
I told my homies that we was, there's this raging thing right now in my neighborhood. X-rated this, X-rated that. And, I hit the gas pedal. I've been home 30 months, and people are starting to measure that experience against other people's experience. You go to a barbershop where I'm from right now, and it's who doing it from the city. It's like 3 or 4 names gonna come up, and I'm in the top 2 of them conversation.
Yeah.
And so some people resent that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've been trying to push to them, like, you just have to, no matter what. You have to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that you're pushing for other people to advance what they're supposed to be doing. And so far, that message has resonated.
Yeah.
It's resonated. And so I see people responding with an understanding that it's more important to be empowering people and uplifting people and pushing that energy into the universe than this tough energy. And it's we already proven we could be tough. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Anger, lashing out, that's the easiest thing to do. That don't require intelligence. That don't require effort.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the man who can hold his tongue.
You're right.
The man who can say something decent when that's the last thing he want to do is exercise in much more discipline than the man who can lash out. So I've been trying to advance that agenda, and so far it's really been working.
Good. So I guess speaking to some sort of conflict resolution.
Right.
Yeah.
Nonviolent communication, conflict resolution, all that.
I always say that communication rule the nation. All you got to do is it's a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you be thinking, it's like I was telling him, it was a comedian that I wanted to get on the show, and he was calling me when I was doing I Got the Hook Up Too. We were so busy. We were hella busy. I wasn't even checking social media, and I was moving at the same time. And so I guess maybe he felt some kind of way. He felt slighted, you know what I mean? But we haven't even had a conversation for me to tell him, bro, I didn't even see your messages till months later. You know what I'm saying? So you're carrying this burden of feeling some type of way and animosity toward me when all you got to do is talk to me, which I've tried to reach out. But, it's like if somebody step on somebody's toe, you might be thinking, oh, man, this nigga disrespected me.
Yeah.
Really, he probably didn't even know he stepped on your toe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You didn't give him a chance to say excuse me. So I remember OG of mine told me, he said, you always try to offer a person a way out.
Oh, yeah.
You try to offer them a way out first. You know what I'm saying? You go to slow to violence. If you have it, first exhaust words. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then if you have to escalate past then.
Yeah.
But I want to drag it back a little bit. So Honore, did you play sports?
I did. I played football. I was obsessed with football. Played tailback. I was very good at it. My mother, so I started getting into trouble, following, trying to be like my older cousins and run the streets. They were all Garden Blocc Crips. And so they still are. And so I was fixated on them. They were heroes to me.
Yeah.
And in their way, they still are. They're my heroes, AJ, and Jimmy Broadnax, and, George Campbell. These people molded me into, one of my younger cousins is the king of my neighborhood right now. My bloodline runs where I'm from. And so I very much aspire to be in that vein and was going real hard to make sure that was true. And so my mother decided that before I did something stupid or something bad happened to me or whatever, she sent me to Texas.
Okay.
So I went out to Texas. I went to Waco.
Okay.
Specifically East Waco.
That's where the Branch Davidian shit was, right?
It is where the Branch Davidian shit
right,
was. Yeah, that's where it was. And High Five came out of there.
High Five.
From the specific projects where I was at. I was in Trimwood.
Okay.
With my family next door to Sherman Manors and the village, all that in East Waco. And, it's real out there.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like, they really with it.
Yeah.
It's funny that people don't realize that, but it was really crunchy, and I learned a lot from that energy. But football's huge. Yeah. Sports are huge. That's how people perceive how we going to get the hell out of here.
So you aspired to go farther in NFL?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my older cousin, Glenn Johnson, was playing for Waco Christian and was being, he was already receiving letters. He had a letter from the University of Texas. He eventually signed to go to the University of Texas before he was violently removed from Earth. And so, that I learned something from that, too. And once I got over the anger years later. But I was going to the public school, and I would practice and finish my practice and walk to his school and then watch their practice. And then I started on the side doing the sprints, doing the practice. And their coach eventually put me, with him and was like, just practice, you good. Get some Gatorade and get the salt tablets. You out here, I see him working out, somebody take care of this kid. That led to, here's a scholarship, a reduced tuition.
Wow.
And you can be at this school.
Yeah.
And so, the Waco Christian Warriors were a preeminent team out there. eventually winning the state championship in the state of Texas. So when I say that, this is the school. That's yeah. A state championship in the state of Texas.
I don't know if there's another state that values like high school football as much.
Yeah, Florida and Alabama. The reason why the SEC teams are so good is primarily because of that. The high schools,
100%.
high school football out there is
Serious.
about as good as anywhere in the world, period. So, Miami, where Florida, Alabama, Atlanta, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, high school football is hardcore, and that's why those schools are hardcore.
So you were playing in those games at that high level like that?
I was playing in those games. Wow. I worked my way up, and it was appreciated. The starting tailback was ahead of me. Was great. So I'm a freshman playing varsity football.
Oh yeah.
So the man ahead of me was really, really, really good. I was good too. So I got to do some punt returns and let him rest. I get out there and do my thing. But that led to eventually discovering that my tuition wasn't being paid. So I had to be let go, right, from this team that's doing so well. And then, I had some resentment.
Okay.
Because of that, because I felt like that was a great opportunity. And so when I got back to Sacramento, after that there was some bouncing around, and I only really cared about school at that point because I could play ball. That was the only reason I showed an interest in school, because I'm skipping grades, I'm bored, I'm not stimulated.
Yeah, it's not challenging you.
It's not challenging me, so I just didn't really care to engage. I only cared to keep grades good enough to play football. Once football was gone, I hit South Sacramento with a anger and a vengeance, and just like you just ruined it. So let me ask you real quick,
Ray. So the anger, was that from just because of the football shit? Is that where the anger was perseverating?
I think that was more of a ignition. It was, that was a fuse.
Okay.
And it got lit.
Okay.
But I think the anger came from societal issues, and not having a relationship with my father, and not understanding what that was about, not understanding that relationship between the two of them that led to my conception, and him being from Alabama and not having, I just felt like, I don't know that I had the words for that either back then. I'm sure I did not. Right. But now having to study underlying causes, causative factors, and to get a feel for what contributed to my psychological development or lack of psychological development, that's one of the things. It was the absence of male leadership in my life, and even teaching me to respect female leadership. You get big enough and you get strong enough. Now what you gonna do? You
start bucking on your mama, because my mama used to tell me, don't start smelling your piss. You know what I mean? And same thing. And I was the only child. You know what I'm saying? I started getting some height on me. And I remember one time my mother was on my ass about some dishes, and I kind of cut my eyes at her, and I just remember all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. You know what I'm saying? And then I fell back. And she had stole on me. She hooked around, stole on me, hit me right in the sternum. But I needed that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think I was scraping 6 feet, about 14. And she stood over me. And she looked down on me and said, "Motherfucker, don't you ever cut your eyes at me. I'll beat your motherfucking ass." Straight up. She told me that, and then told me, "Now get up and act like you want to do something." You know what I mean? And that was it. She got me, you know what I'm saying? At least in terms of respecting her. She put that healthy fear in me, you know what I mean? But you're right. Like, same thing, man. Like, my dad was in walking distance, and I didn't have that male figure there to, you know what I'm saying? To grab me or even, paint out the possibilities, because like you dealt with that with football. But if you had somebody that could have said, okay, that didn't work out, what about here? You know what I'm saying? This might be another option here. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Or let's just pay this tuition.
Right. Or let's pay this tuition.
We just gonna pay this tuition. I'll take that.
But like, bouncing off of that, so I went to jail when I was 15. Right. It's just kind of going with that. And my father had got me a lawyer. They were gonna certify me. Right. I was gonna be the first juvenile in Missouri to be certified. They was gonna give me juvenile life and then send me to the pen.
Wow.
So he came through with the lawyer. I'm trying to think of the lawyer's name, because he was a cokehead, but he was good, And I remember thinking after I got off that case and as I got a little older, I remember thinking, damn, my daddy came through. He got me a lawyer. You know, I'm thinking he did a solid. But then when I got a little older, I was like, damn, well, I'm feeling like he did me a favor. Like maybe if he was there, I wouldn't have needed a lawyer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So kind of going to the same thing that you saying. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm not throwing my old man under the bus. It's just what it was. He did the best he could, you know what I'm saying? And I love my father. He's still alive. But, you know, it was one of them things where looking back on it, you have that insight. You know what I mean?
We celebrate people for doing things they're supposed to do.
Right.
Because it's so rare that people do what they're supposed to do from the culture.
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate thing. Getting in the underlying causes and causative factors, I started having this realization that it was necessary for me to understand my parents' causative factors, underlying causes. So why were they even in the state of mind that they were in when it came to a child? Because there came a point in my life where I went to Alabama and I was watching my father with this dog, and I remember experiencing a certain degree of jealousy of my father's dog because my father's was more affectionate with his dog than he was with me. And so, and I was young enough to be aware that he liked this dog more than he liked me, or I perceived it that way.
Yeah.
But the truth was that he didn't know what to do with a kid.
Yeah.
He had no idea what to do with a kid. You know what to do with a dog. You pet it.
Yeah.
You rub the dog. What do you do with this boy though?
Yeah.
What do you do with him?
Damn.
And so it was, but I watched that and I remember feeling that way, that he was more affectionate with his dog than he was with me.
Yeah.
And I love that dog too. You know, I was affectionate. I was probably more affectionate to the dog than I was to my father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But still, and so I came to this conclusion that had been taught to him as well.
Exactly. That's
and
what
he
I was
had experienced that,
Exactly.
and the person before him.
Exactly.
And if I go far enough in my heritage, I'm gonna run into somebody who was on a plantation, and then they were free.
Yeah.
And then they had a child, and then that child had a child, and so none of them knew what to do with a child, really.
So
you know what I mean?
My story's linear. Same thing, bro. Same thing with my dad. Because when we kids, we look at our parents as mommy and daddy. We don't have the mental fortitude or understanding to look at them as people, as who they are. Because they're people too, with their own shortcomings and their story too. And like you said, your mother had you at 19. She's still a kid.
She was a goddess.
You know what I'm saying? She's still a kid though.
A goddess.
You know, so
still, that's jazz.
Right.
You know what I mean? To this day.
Right. But when you look at it, like with my dad, same thing, right?
Yeah.
And we just had this conversation maybe 6 months ago, you know. I've never been the type to ask him why this, why that. I mean, we know what it is. You know what I'm saying? He did the best he could. Once I got grown, I just looked at it like that. But he told me my grandfather, you know, was a raging alcoholic. He was mean. He was old. You know, he was born at 18 something. You know what I mean? And he was particularly mean to my father. You know what I'm saying? And so my father kind of told me, he said, you know what? I didn't really come around y'all because I felt that thing that my dad had where he grabbed me. He said, well, I want to snatch you. Come here, motherfucker. You up. You know what I'm saying? Just for no reason.
Yeah.
He said, so I stayed away because I didn't know how to modulate that. You know what I'm saying? So I respected that. But see, I'm 44 and he's just telling me that. You know, now, luckily, when I was a kid, I didn't have any daddy issues. I can be honest. I think because my mother did such a great job, I didn't really feel the void because you can't miss nothing you never had. So I never even really felt it. Yeah. You know, but that was me. That was just my personality. But the way that the ripple effect of that, when I had my son, I had never been shown love by a man. You know what I'm saying? I never been hugged by a man. I never had a man tell me I love you. Yeah. When I had my son, dog, I was dapping this little nigga. Like, I'm like,
giving him
daps. Like,
how you doing, little man?
I was confused. I was like, do I hug? That feel weird. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I had to, you know, dig within myself, peel the layers back and do my own work. And it dawned on me one day. I was like, that's why I feel like that, because I've never been shown that.
Right.
And my father-in-law, he was the first man that would hug me and embrace me. He was Nigerian. And he even said, because I shared with him years later, and he said it. He said, man, yeah, because when I first met you, I would hug you and you would kind of get weird. You know what I'm saying? And I just, you know, so it was something that I almost perpetuated to my son, you know, but I had to wherewithal to kind of do the work. You know what I'm saying? Now, shit, my son, 21, you know, I hug,
going down.
I
That's
hug
going
this
down.
dude, kiss him on the cheek and all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? But You know, so I understand it's these generational curses that we have to break.
Absolutely. We just did we did interviews with about 20 artists over the course of, I don't know, it took like 12 hours. And I did that with those young men when they came in and spoke. What are your intentions? You know, how do you perceive yourself? What are your expectations? What do you perceive that we can do for you? Things like that. And I gave them hugs, you know. And they were like, man, I really appreciate you. Thank you for this opportunity. I give them a hug, man. I love you too, man. You're going to be all right. And I've been doing that with my guys. And you know, for the most part, for the great percentage of them, being one of the only men, period, that's ever done that.
It's funny you say that, bro, because you just hugged me when you seen me. Probably 10 years ago, that would have been weird. I would have been stiff. But at this point, you know what I'm saying, I was able to embrace you back. So.
And that hug been coming for a while.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I'm saying? That. We needed that, bro.
Yeah, I remember I spoke to you on, it was like September 18th of 2018.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been out 3-4 days, and you was on my phone, and I had a message from you on the day I came home.
Real talk.
So it took about 4 days for us to communicate. And that hug been
absolutely. And when we talked for a couple hours.
We did.
Yeah, it was like we went back 30 years.
Yeah, we just hung out. Chopped it up.
Kinship. Yeah.
So that hug was warmed up. You know, we built up to that moment.
Real talk.
It would have been weirder for me to not give you that embrace.
Yeah. Me too. I was on some gangster shit. I was gonna hug you anyway. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up.
I was gonna hug you. You know what I'm saying? I got a little size, so I was gonna bear hug you anyway.
This hug.
You know what I'm saying?
You
gonna take this hug, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? You've been through too much, dog. I'm gonna give you some love.
Man, I'll take it. I want all the love I could get. It's been a lot of hate, and we survived that hate. It's been a lot of love, and the love is greater than the hate. I want it. I've done the darkness.
That's what I'm saying, bro. You know, we got to normalize that shit, though. That's what I'm saying. We deal with each other so heavy-handedly, bro. Like, we got to normalize compassion, respect. Saying, hey, especially if you because that was weird for me for a long time. I had a cousin that got killed. You know, big super crip. You know what I'm saying? They used to call him Big 50, call him Dumb Down. You know, rest in peace to Reggie Waxter.
Rest in peace.
He used to always say that. I love you, cuz. He used to do it to fuck with me too, but he meant it. You know what I'm saying? He would be like, man, just say you love me. You love me. Say you love me. And I'd be like, I mean, you cool. You know
I'll fuck with you.
Yeah, I'll fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? You know, if something happened to you, bro, I cry. You know what I mean? But, you know, we got to normalize that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Showing each other love and being compassionate, you know. Yeah. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that. We all know what we are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hypermasculinity. This country's perpetuated what they believe black masculinity is. And you know, so a lot of this has been taught to us through entertainment and fiction and all these different realms because we don't have it in our own homes. And a lot of that imagery didn't originate from our own selves. And so it's even more, now it's an inaccurate depiction that's coming from a source outside of ourselves. And then we're accepting it because we have no definition.
Exactly.
And so we're allowing this definition to come from outside of ourselves to be dictated to us under completely fictional circumstances.
Exactly. And it's easy to do when you rob somebody of their history.
Indeed.
Because you can write it for them.
You can.
You know what I'm saying?
It wrote it.
Right.
It has been done.
Right.
It occurred.
Right. And so that really happened.
That did happen. And so now we have to do something else and give different demonstrations of what it means to be a man, a black person in America, how we interact with other cultures and the respect that we could show other cultures.
Absolutely.
I've been dealing with that. Like, hey man, you don't have to devaluate someone else's culture in order to embrace your own. That's not what that means.
No.
You know?
Because you're perpetuating the same shit you don't want done to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we've been able to be pretty good about that message.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So, Honore, you're playing football. You go back to Sac. You're pissed off about that.
Angry.
So now you hit the soil. You're back on 24th Street.
Yeah.
And so now, is that where the cripping start?
So the cripping started before the football. You know, there's a difference between a member and a banger.
Real
They're
talk.
not the same.
Real talk.
And so I have been a gang member since my 13th birthday. Those same older cousins who were heroes to me used to run me off when I tried to come out there. They run me off. Get up out of here. What you doing over here? They were mean about it too. Trying to keep me away.
Yeah.
My 13th birthday was when they stopped doing that.
Okay.
I'd show up and they notice me and leave me there. When nobody say nothing. Then I got bold enough to grab a 40.
Yeah.
I got bold enough to grab a joint.
Yeah,
Then I got
yeah.
bold enough to squeeze a girl's butt or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going to the house party and realize nobody cares I'm here now.
Yeah.
I didn't get ran off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that part, the membership part, and represent myself as being from 24th Street had started years before. And so the banging part, I came home and it was like, we're going to gang bang now.
Yeah.
And so the spring and summer of 1990 is when it was like, it's on. It's
Active.
on, it's going down active.
Yeah.
And got put on and put on something that I was born on. It's where I'm from, and I still got put on 24th Street by Jerome McCoy, Slim Dog. You know, these people. I had to fight the big homies.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's difficult enough for itself, but, you know, I did that and took on a name and got out there and tried to make that name a name.
Were you always X-rated?
I was not. I was groomed by somebody we call Big Slim Dog from 24th Street. And so everybody but I was always with him. I was a little mascot sidekick, just always with him. So they started calling me Lil Slim. Yeah. Every time I would go somewhere by myself, it'd be like, oh, there go Lil Slim Dog. And I just let that breathe. I let that breathe.
Yeah.
I didn't get put on technically as a Lil Slim. Technically, I guess I would have to say that is what that was, walking away from it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But everybody just started calling me that. The homies clowningly would call me Black Ass Chocolate. That would be like, where Black Ass Chocolate at?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Chop.
yeah.
Where he at?
Yeah.
And so that was just a neighborhood clown name that they ended up I had. But I wrote a rap. I had, as an active gang member, I had already started these associations that was allowing me to make my music and put out tapes in the South Side.
What made you want to start rapping? What made you pick up a pen and say, you know what, I want to try this rhyming shit?
You know, culturally for us, that rhyming is not something we start, you know what I mean? It's what we do. Yeah. It's going to be a little dancing. It's our culture. Yeah. So it was always, I was a monster on a freestyle. Okay. So I used to just make up rhymes. We still do it. We still have ciphers in my building to this day. I'll walk up and it'll just be a cipher going down. Yeah. I'll jump in it still. Yeah. And so back then I was already spitting rhymes, even playing ball. I used to make up songs for the football team on the bus trips and stuff like that. So I ended up in the studio. A friend of mine, we had a cipher at a continuation school. So because I couldn't even go to a high school no more at that point. My records was trash. Right. We moved around so much, gross instability, that by the time I got back to Sacramento, I couldn't be accepted by Burbank or Kennedy or Florence High or Valley High. None of the schools in the South area would take me. So I ended up at a continuation school, which is one step away from being a dropout. And so the guys were spitting, I jumped in, and there was this kid named Percy Hunter from the Flat Dog Crip neighborhood, and he was like, yo, at lunchtime, man, I want to show you something. You dope. You could do this. I was like, all right. And so we pulled off. He had a little van. We went to his house. It was about 5 of us. And his parents had bought him every piece of equipment at that level that you could possibly have. Okay. All of it. Yeah. The 4-track
recorder. Yeah, I remember that.
His drum machine.
Yeah.
He had the 2 turntables, the mixers. He had the speakers. He had all the records. He was a
spoiled little kid, huh?
He was spoiled, but not only in that way. They figured out this will keep him in the house. Okay, yeah. Because they owned their house. They bought their house. Yeah. His father was working. His mother was working. Yeah. So he didn't have to be out in the streets. Yeah. They thought this is how we keep them safe.
Yeah, and they were smart in doing that too.
They were smart.
We had to steal all that shit. We had that, but we jacked a bunch of niggas.
I had to sell dope to get mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I got with Percy, and me and P ended up doing music, and he produced my first little tapes. And so I really only started writing down the rhymes because I realized they sounded better when they were thought out. So I was freestyling stuff, and I didn't like where I would hear myself mess up because I'm thinking about a word. So timing was an issue. I was like, man, so I started writing my freestyles down and cleaning them up and making them doper and recording them again, and they were flawless. And I just got into that and then went from writing down my freestyles to just writing a new song. And that's how my first 10 songs got released into the to the streets.
So who put that? You just put that out just on some independent shit?
I gave it to one of the homies, just like, man, let me know what you think. I gave it to a cat named Old Man from PJ Watts. And so he was in the South Side hustling, and he was in this specific little complex that we had. It kind of like the Carter of the South Side. It was one way in, one way out. You know what I mean? You could see everything, police coming from a mile. You know what I mean? It wasn't no surprising nothing over there.
Yeah.
So it's the best D spot you could think of. And so old man, you know, he had all the trinkets and all that. And he was sitting in his Jeep and he had a system in his Jeep. Everybody knew the old man had the system. So I wanted to hear it. And he was listening to it and he was like, what the hell is, he's like, that's you?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's me, man. I'm doing my thing. And he like turned it down and was like, man, you good. You're as good as anybody trying to do this right now. You could really do this. The man gave me a bunch of more water money. He gave me another additional investment opportunity, right?
right.
Yeah, and he told me, take this serious, really do it. And I left that tape with him. And that tape ends up spreading around LA and ends up at swap meets and people making copies of it. Damn. And then the same thing happened in the Bay Area. So I had some boys, some of my partners. I was good with Stingy from RBO Posse.
Were you X-rated?
So I had a line where I said, your girl calls me X-rated when I'm digging her out.
Okay.
Porno movie position, sticking my dick in her mouth. I just happened to say it.
Yeah.
And now there's no picture on this tape.
Okay.
So everybody who heard it started saying, it's X-rated, it's X-rated.
Okay.
That's kind of how that started. And so, because I really didn't say a name. I kind of just was like, Ray. I call my black ass Chalk. I was a little slim. I would just say whatever I was saying. You know what I mean? But I hadn't defined myself yet.
Okay.
This is real raw.
But you was probably about, what, 14 maybe?
I was 15 when I was happening.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a baby.
Yeah.
Just doing what I was doing. And then the X-rated thing kind of took on a life of itself where people, I remember that happened to Scarface. You know, who remembers that Scarface rap name was B-Ack?
Yeah.
Action.
Action. He was DJ Action.
Yeah, Brad.
Yeah, Brad.
He was just Brad.
Yeah.
And then he called me Mr.
Scarface. He said, fuck it, I'm Face. I'm Scarface now.
The people decided it.
Yeah.
It really was just a song.
Yeah.
There was no his name
I remember
on the
that.
song. Yeah, I remember that too. And so it's like we named Scarface off of a song that Scarface made.
Yeah.
Really as Brad. And so I did the same thing. And Brotha Lynch. So Brotha Lynch is the one who said, the spelling on your name was like, so R-A-T-E-D. He was like, so it's going to be X-rated. He was like, it's X-rated.
That was dope.
And so he was like, well, let's do R-A-I-D-E-D. He was like, you ain't no player. You a gangster. This ain't.
Well, hold up. So you skipped, though. So you got your tape going. How did you come up? How did you meet Lynch?
So Lynch is 7 years older than me. So he's from a generation above me. So everybody knew about Kevin Mann. You know, Kevin he used to battle rap at the high schools. He went from school to school to school, just trying to eat anybody alive. He could flip. You know, he was just probably the most talented dude in the South Side, period. Flipping, drawing, every aspect of hip hop. Brotha Lynch was involved in it. And so, you know, we were like, you know, what's up with Lynch? Like, Lynch is out here doing his thing. They used to call him Ice Cold back in the day.
Right.
They called him Ice Cold. So it was like Ice Cold because that was his dance name.
Yeah.
And so Strobe Light was his partner. That was his partner in crime. And Strobe Light was dating my cousin Nicole.
Strobe Light, that's kind of a funny name.
It is a funny
Strobe
name.
Light.
He was the pop. And he was like a
lockers.
Strobe Light.
It was lockers.
Yeah, they had all that. It was like Turbo and Ozone.
Yeah.
That was their thing. Ice Cold and
Man, imagine Lynch.
Strobe Light.
Imagine Lynch pop locking like
with a Jerry curl.
He did. I feel like he did it on some video, some documentary where he was talking about flipping or whatever.
Really?
He talked about being a b-boy. Like,
He
was
dope.
really, you know, I mean, he was from that era.
Yeah.
And so
makes sense.
So Strobe Light comes to my grandmother passed on December 17th, and years before, but my family had celebrated her death day every year after that. And so we were at one of those celebrations, and they were always turned up. It wasn't a morbid thing. It was like, you know, just an opportunity to get together, eat some food, and reminisce about grandma. So I got Percy DJing the party, and my cousin Nicole comes and brings Strobe with her. And so they walking around the room. I got all of my lyrics taped to the wall like you would do, you know, comic books or something.
Wow.
All my rhymes are on the walls, and I used to walk around reading them, memorizing them. But every time I finished one, I would sit down and write it out, and perfectly, because I like to see it. You know, it was a thing for me to see it. And then I put it in a sheet protector and pin it on the wall. So he's reading the songs, and he's like, man, who wrote this stuff? You know, whose stuff is this? I was like, it's mine. You know, I wrote it. He was like, man, I want you to meet somebody tomorrow. What y'all doing tomorrow? It was like, we doing what you doing. So we go through that night. We wake up the next day, and he shows up with Brotha Lynch Hung. And he's like, you gotta get in there. So we went into Percy's house, me, Lynch, Strobe, and a couple other people, and Percy, and we got in there, and we literally stayed there till like 4 or 5 in the morning, freestyling songs, writing lyrics, you know, battling back and forth, and just was like, we're dope together. We're the dopest thing ever. Like, we thought we were the dopest thing ever. We believed it from that night. And so that was kind of how me and Lynch started. And then Lynch was like, he started calling me. He like, man, what you doing? You working on your stuff? He was way more advanced in terms of writing, song structure, and things like that. And the difference between me and Lynch at that point probably was, you know, we have different personalities in terms of our. I'm a lot more. I'm an extrovert. Yep. I call it an involuntary extrovert. As a result of what I have to do, I'm going. Right. But when I'm done with that, I'm chilling.
Same with me. I'm the same way.
But when it's time to go, it's on. Lynch is chilling all the time. Yeah. There is no get up and go involved in nothing. Lynch is doing whatever you want to do at the speed that he's gonna do it at, and that's gonna be respected. Period. That's how it is. Yeah. And so that's the only reason I really came out before Lynch on a national level, was just that once he opened that window for me, I crawled through it, and I plundered the whole house and opened the doors for everybody. Like, come up in here too. Yeah. Like, let's go.
So hold on real quick. So Psychoactive came out before 24 Deep?
Psychoactive came out before anything from Garden Blocc at all. It was the first Garden Blocc project at all. Okay. And so all the DNA traces back to Psychoactive. Okay. We start working on a project called Niggas in Black, and the little EP that we did, and then that got out there, and then we did Endangered together, me, Lynch, and Strobe Light, and that ended up being what it was, a classic, and that led to Black Market Records looking for me, so they're trying to find me, and I remember my mom had my little Black Niggas in Black EP cover, because Lynch drew a cover for me. Okay. And this is how the X-rated name got spelled the way it was, because he's drawing this cover, and he's like, man, we got to spell it like this. Yeah. It's R-A-I-D-E-D, and he had already drew my logo and everything. Yeah. Lynch was just really,
damn, that's dope.
You know, he loved it, and that's what he did. And so I was like, all right, so we made copies of that and folded that little drawing that Lynch did up and put it, went and had the tapes manufactured and sent it on consignment deals, swap meets, all over the place. Out the trunk like Too Short. That was all I knew. Like the big homie Too Short did it this way, so we gonna do it this way. And that's why I've always honored Short. You know what I mean? Everything he contributed, because even that aspect of us being able to make our first dollars was following a blueprint that Too Short made publicly known. He
pioneered that.
He pioneered it up there, and he identified that he was doing it. He didn't hide the economic value of doing it. Right. Some people have a hustle, and they ain't gonna tell you what their hustle is. Too Short taught us what the hustle was, honestly, to the culture. And so we followed that blueprint. And so nobody knows what I look like. Nobody knows it's me. It's just now there's this X-rated out, and he got tapes out. And so Cedric had been looking for me, sitting next to my mom at church. And she has that on her key ring in church too. I don't know what she was doing. Wow. But she got that on, and he's like, you know him? And she said, that's my son. And he gave her his business card. Dang. And so at the time, there was no such thing as Black Market Records on the market yet. He was still building it. Yeah. He had a little something that he had done before with like one of our founding fathers from South Sac, gangster rap named Homicide, rest in peace. And so he had been doing work with Homicide. And here I come. I show up. I called the number. I came home. I was doing some time. I came home and called the number like, man, I can't keep doing this. You know what I mean? It got to be something.
So you had been locked up before?
Yeah, I was gang banging. Okay. I was actively gang banging.
Okay.
Banging. And so we getting pulled over for joyriding with pistol in the car on our way to shoot that up. Yeah. Getting caught on the way back from shooting this up. We were just, it was all bad. It was a rough experience.
Yeah, I was on the same bullshit about the same time you was.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it just was what it was. Yeah. And not to glorify it strictly from the perspective of that's what happened. Period. You know what I mean? And you know, there's better ways to live your life, but that was not what was happening at that time.
Absolutely.
And so I came home. I called a number. Cedric arranged for me to meet with him. I came through, and I walked in there with 10 of the 11 songs that became Psychoactive done. They were done. The whole thing was done. And he was like, this is amazing. We just need that. Like, we need one track. We need one track. So we started working on what became That Sickness.
That Sickness.
The last song on Psychoactive. Made that at Cedric's studio. Took the pictures, signed the deal. He started working on all the different stuff with Priority Records, trying to make that pop.
So, hold on. So, I'm sorry, Rated. I don't want to skip over Psychoactive, bro.
Let's not.
I cannot skip over Psychoactive. You know what I'm saying? When that album dropped, bro, I remember it was this little cat. I can't remember this dude's name, but I went to high school with him. I think I was in 10th grade when it came out. So we talking about 92, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 92.
Yeah. And I remember he came to me in the hallway, was like, man, you got to listen to this. It's X-rated, right? So he gave me the tape. I'm in Kansas City, in Missouri. I'm at Northeast High School. So, you know, I'm up in class listening to it. I don't give a fuck about class, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this shit crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it was so surreal, and the imagery and everything was just, it was crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I was like hooked. I was like, what the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? But looking back on it, like, what was your, you know what I'm saying? Because you're about a year older than me. So what was the, you know, the genius, the mind state to create something like that? Because what you did was you had NWA, you had gangster shit. So you had your gangster shit, but was that, you had a little bit of, I ain't gonna say horrorcore, but
it was a little horrorcore.
It was, but it was vitriol. It was extreme, almost violence with some gangster shit. You know what I'm saying? And I think you were the first to do that. I mean, the Ghetto Boys did it, but they was a little more horrorcore though, kind of, you know.
And more comical.
We
were dead serious.
Right.
And that was the difference.
Yeah.
And I think that the difference between us and NWA and the Ghetto Boys, and it was utterly deliberate, because we didn't want to be like them. We wanted to be like the culture, and we wanted to feel like, because hip hop felt like what hip hop felt like. So we knew it needed to feel like hip hop.
Yeah.
But we didn't want it to we didn't want to be NWA. We didn't want to be the Ghetto Boys. We wanted to be different.
Yeah.
And so our strategy was, you know, the weakness in NWA was, although there was hints at their affiliation, there was no blatant declaration. And so one of the first things on Psychoactive was a declaration. It's Garden Blocc. Period. It's Crip. And it wasn't and this is how we feel.
It wasn't no nuance.
It wasn't nothing.
What it is.
It was the most, on the level that it was, because, you know, Banging on Wax was going on. You had that, but that was almost niche. It wasn't like somebody felt like that stuff was gonna go nowhere, or they were gonna get a career out of it. You know, it was really just like, we're gonna do this, and this is our gimmick. Where we felt like we're doing this, and this is our life and our death, and we're dead serious, and this is what it is. And so it was, we're gonna declare this is Garden Blocc Crips. First song, it's 24th Street. We represent for 29th Street, period. And we did that off the bat. And I think that separated us. And then we saw the comical aspects of the Ghetto Boys, and I'm hugely influenced by specifically Ice Cube and Scarface, those two. I saw that there was a little bit more comedy involved in what the Ghetto Boys were doing as a group. That comedy went away from Scarface's individual career. It was a whole different thing with Uncle Face, right? But the Ghetto Boys and the presence of Bushwick and, you know, the Chucky doll and all of this, you know, on a street level, like, that's cool, but that ain't like, you know, that was comical.
Yeah, it was more like horror movie type shit as opposed to real life.
So like it worked on an entertainment level, but on a street level, we wasn't going too far with that. You know what I mean? And so I felt like I want to keep it to where the streets understand it and can embrace that. We dead serious.
Man, listen, that shit was like what you had done at that time. You created a soundtrack for just what the fuck we was doing, you know, but I ain't gonna lie, it poured a little bit of, you know what I'm saying, gas on the mentality, you know what I'm saying? Because when you sitting up and you listen, I had the vision of a murder, X-rated sitting in a house with a 9 in my hand and a joint in my mouth. You know what I'm saying? And it was just, and even like Still Shooting, that motherfucker you could listen to from beginning to end. And Sickness, I can remember listening to that Sickness literally, dog, because I think I was on house arrest. And I would listen to it at night with my Walkman. and it was like it would pull me into a different world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And almost, maybe not in a good way, you know what I'm saying? But it pull you into a dark space.
It
You know what I'm
does.
saying? And it gets you on some bull, you know what I'm saying? That evil you start tapping
It was a
into.
very evil experience, man. It was darkness. It was.
Yeah,
It was. I had a dark companion in those days of
Yeah.
my life, and I didn't realize I had that darkness until I got a bar of light.
Yep.
The darkness was gone, and then it came back.
Right.
When it started trying to come back, that was when I knew. Oh,
Yeah.
that sensation. It's a real dark spirit.
Yeah.
And I had that companion, and I summoned it frequently, and it was my first 3 records.
Yeah.
That was supremely present, and you know, it is what it is. Rolling Stone said it was the most hardcore hip hop album of all time. You know what I mean?
It's classic, bro. And I still get that feeling when I hear it even now. You know what I'm saying? And you know, the thing about it is, it was so the imagery was so vivid. You know what I'm saying? And I always say, but like you said, you know, we all have 2 people. We all have darkness and light inside of us. But then when you figure out who wins, who wins is whoever you feed.
Yeah, the
you
wolf you feed is
the
wolf who wins.
So if if you feed anger and rage and negativity, shit, that dark gonna win. But if you feed love, grace, and mercy, then that other part gonna win. You know what I mean?
I remember we talked about that in different books that we enjoy, and Don Miguel Ruiz is one of my favorites in terms of like when I started trying to shift my philosophy, and that was his quote. And he said that it was an old native story, a parable almost, and it was a child who asked a father telling his child that there were every man had 2 wolves inside of him, and that the wolves, one of the wolves was for death and destruction and hatred and evil, and the other wolf was for light and joy and happiness and love. And the child asked who won, and the father said, the wolf you feed.
Damn, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's just some shit. That's I always say, you live a life long enough, it teach you how to live.
Yeah.
That's just from experience.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Damn. So I'm on point.
You are on point.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Don Miguel Ruiz.
I could say coming from Sacramento at the time, I think there was a sense of pride when that album came out, because I'm 2 or 3 years younger than y'all, but at that time, you only could listen to rap from other regions.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I was in North Highlands, so, you know what we was doing in North Highlands.
Yeah.
But, we out there in North Highlands off of Water Avenue. When that came out, it was like, oh, this is us. This is Sacramento. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got E40 tapes and 2 short tapes. But I remember it getting passed around. You know what I mean? Still, like, vividly, where it was like, oh, you got to get you one. You got, we had a little store called The Underground. I think it was right off of Watt and A Street. And it was like, that's where you gotta go. You gotta go get one of these.
And it was there.
Yeah. And even
Man,
some of
that's a
the
trip, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Even some of the out there, songs were so fucked. That shit was. What was the song? I'm trying to think when you said, what you say? I drag her in my house and take her on a trip through hell.
Yeah.
Say, for instance, there's a white bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm following this shit. The storytelling, though, the way you know what I'm saying? It was masterfully, executed and written.
I was
the
trying
creativity of it.
I was on my Hitchcock. I was obsessed with Hitchcock, and then I felt like, Ice Cube. What made Ice Cube special? What made Ice-T special was the storytelling ability.
Absolutely.
And I was conscious of that the East Coast viewed us as inferior rappers, specifically because we didn't have metaphors, similes, we didn't have stories. So even then, I knew as a songwriter that there were components I was going to need to have for my sport to say I was really one of them ones.
Right.
So delivery we were obsessed with delivery. We were obsessed with metaphors and similes, and we were actively having those conversations and actively studying music. Like Lynch and I would sit in a room and listen to everything and really comparing, why is this working? We would watch the Juice Crew. What was dope about the members of the Juice Crew and what were their strengths and weaknesses? Big Daddy Kane's strengths and weaknesses, Cool G Rap, and then getting into Slick Rick and what made Slick Rick so successful, and it was the storytelling. So it was like Children's Story was what it was.
Was the shit.
It's like, how do you replicate that as a gangster? You know what I mean? And that was what I was really on. And Psychoactive on the low is like 40-50% stories.
Yeah.
It's very conceptual.
Yeah.
Even if it was 3 verses, each verse would be its own contained short story, or it would be all 3 verses were one larger story.
Right.
But that was how I was doing it specifically because I wanted hip hop to have to acknowledge that I was a monster. I wanted it to be the best.
I thought that shit, then. When you listen to Sickness, that shit is almost like a Shakespearean play. Because you think about all what you got in there, the elements. You got suicide, paranoia. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have, that shit is almost spiritual. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you listen to it,
Yeah. And I remember. Just the intro.
You know what I'm saying?
The commentary before the rap start.
Man, yeah. And even when dude said, yo, cuz, I thought we had a deal. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn.
Which is funny because the impetus for, so this is 2-3 years before Ready to Die drops, right? Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, this is the first time. And it's like, I ended Psychoactive with the suicide.
Yeah, right.
And then 2 years later, Notorious B.I.G. ended Ready to Die with a suicide. You know what I mean? And everybody went all crazy, suicidal thoughts. It literally was, this man was listening to Psychoactive. It just straight up, he was listening. Yeah. And so what's the sickness, that sickness, and how that sickness contributed to Ready to Die. And if you say, well, why or how would they know? It's like we were in the Source all the time.
Yeah.
We were in the Source magazine all the time. The Gun to the Temple, even Dr. Dre replicating my Psychoactive cover on the cover of the Source. So it's like for these people to not be aware of what we was doing is comical. And Psychoactive was 2 years before the Chronic, a year before the Chronic, 2 years before Doggy Style, 2.5 years before Ready to Die. It was,
I mean, I don't want to say, look, I'm a Northern California dude, and I love the hip hop culture, right? But it never got his job. I mean, the way they played E40 on what he's contributed, what y'all contributed. Yep. People pretend like it didn't happen or they didn't originate it.
Right.
But like we know if you're from there, especially, like we listen to it. Like I would hear stuff in pop culture, and I'd be like, I heard that with 40 on the Mailman. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or a Federal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they act like it doesn't exist because to admit that it exists requires, well, how were you influenced by it?
Right.
And they want to be, we originated this. And, I remember reading an article in the Source where they said that Biggie practically he invented the term player hater on Life After Death. And I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, right.
Invented the term. In this 5 mic review, they're saying he invented a term that literally has been being said by Too Short and E40, all these people for a decade. Like, you serious? Yeah. And so, we were dealing with that and that the East-West thing and their hold on the culture, and I want to let that go. And now we've progressed to where other people are really, regions have an opportunity to do their thing. But back then, honestly, it mattered to me that East Coast publications and East Coast rappers had to admit that I was competing. That
you
mattered.
Wanted the respect.
I did.
The respect,
I did. Yeah. Whether I had to take it, trip on them, something. But
competitive industry too. I mean, that's the sport, right?
But you was all about the art. You was like, look, I can spit. I'm from Sac. I'm a Crip. I'm from 24th Street, but I got them bars. Yeah.
That last verse, that first verse on that Sickness, that delivery. Then,
which one?
Crazy nigga will spit some Psychoactive and this shit. Killing niggas and bitches that actually think that they could get for that kind of flow for 19. I wrote that I wrote that in 92.
Yeah.
You could do that flow right now and people say, oh, that's so dope. It's brand new.
Yeah.
And it's something I did in 29 years ago, man.
And even what was the one, the intro to I killed 50 people and I'm digging 50 hoes. Got away. Number 49 is running.
Yeah.
A few times. Boom, boom. Come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? I know that album through and through. So
that's so
dig it, bro. So you're 15, 16 maybe when Psychoactive comes out.
Yeah, when I was 16, when I got half of it done, we did the Niggas in Black EP. That's how I was able to. I technically sampling the 50 people, 50 hoes was from an EP that we had done previously on a street level. That was from the Endangered, from a song called For the Funk of It, and me and Brotha Lynch.
I always wondered why it sounded like that.
It was a sample of another song.
Okay.
And so we had that out, and then I was 17 when I turned Psychoactive in.
Wow.
And the funny part about the imagery when we talk about that, we didn't buy an outfit. We didn't, go get a gun, a prop, none. We literally had a candle. What that was what I was wearing. That was how I felt, how I was walking around.
Wow.
And then just was like, all right, it's like this.
Yeah.
And this is how I feel. And took some pictures.
Yeah,
and that was it. So
I was trying to get a strap like that. I wanted a strap like that. Yeah, I was like, damn, where you find that nickel plated shit at? Because them ain't around here.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so
So wait, was this at 17? Was this something? This was just like a street deal. Like, how'd you sign your deal?
I signed an actual contract with Black Market Records. Yeah.
At 17.
At 17 years old. I may have been 16. We signed that deal. 17, something like that. Yeah. I was 17 when the album came out.
Could you do that?
It is not technically legal, and so we addressed that years later. When I turned 21, we signed another deal. When I turned Xorcist in, we signed a deal that covered psychoactive and Xorcist.
Oh, okay, dope.
And so Cedric did what he had to do the right way, and
that's dope.
Then I did another deal for Unforgiven and Vengeance Is Mine.
Okay, so
and Nefarious.
So that shit comes out. How many records did it sell initially?
Our first shipments of psychoactive were somewhere around the 50,000.
Okay.
Somewhere around 50,000.
Was that through Priority?
That initially it wasn't. It was directly through Black Market.
Okay.
And I was the first artist ever signed to Black Market.
Okay.
So Black Market Records, I'm the LL Cool J of Def Jam to Black Market Records.
Got you. Right.
Even though they were dabbling before me, I was the first artist they ever hit with. And so we put psychoactive out on a just B2B level.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that got us the Priority deal.
Got you.
And then it got its re-release, and then season of the 24 Deep came out behind that. So Psychoactive got us the deal.
Yeah.
Psychoactive gets its re-release, and then 24 Deep was the first original release.
Got you.
Under that deal.
So they kicked the door open, Psychoactive.
It did.
So
first time anybody ever heard Sebo voice is on Psychoactive. First time. It was so early in his career that they were calling him Snowman.
Sebo was on Psychoactive?
Sebo is on Psychoactive.
On what song?
Sebo's on the chorus of Fucking With a Psycho. He on the chorus of Every Single Beds. He's on the chorus. Sebo's
Bro, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Sebo is everywhere on Psychoactive.
So he's behind you on the ad-libs?
Yeah, voice is everywhere.
Damn, I didn't know that. Wow.
Now it's in the whip on the way home.
Yeah.
I'm restudying.
Yeah, and I'm in the cover talking about my brother Snowman, much love. Garden Blocc, blah, 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 blah. That was Sebo's first rap name.
Oh, that's
Before Cowboy and all the other stuff.
It was Psychoactive was so early, there was no Sebo.
Damn.
Snowman.
Damn, that's crazy.
And he was a monster, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we knew that already.
Yeah.
Bo was dog.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah, Bo.
You already know I'm biased on this podcast, but we brothers, so Bo and Lynch are both we're getting them both in to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
If I can facilitate that, I would love to.
For sure.
Lynch is easy. That's a phone call.
Yeah.
And he here now. SoCal.
He's near?
SoCal.
Yeah, he's nearby.
Yeah. Okay.
It's easy.
So now that came out. So man, you 17, you got this album, is blowing up. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? As your career is blossoming. Do you know that your career is blossoming like that?
I do.
You know that we fucking with you in Kansas City like that? You know they fucking with you in Texas like that?
Yeah.
Did you start touring or something like that?
So before Psychoactive came out, I was running around. I was all over the place. And then when Psychoactive came out, I was arrested for murder. So I got arrested on a gang-related homicide, and I go through the county jail experience, and I remember, in there, everybody sending me magazine subscriptions so I could pass the time, you don't be staring at the walls. And so I got the Source, which was the Bible of hip-hop at the time.
Absolutely.
And the Source comes, they hand me the Source, and I open them out, I'm reading the magazine, and I'm in like 3 spots in the magazine. This magazine I wanted to be in my whole life. You know what I mean? And there I am.
Damn.
And I was like, what the fuck?
But are you in there for what you in jail for, or are you in there for the music?
I'm in there for both. So the first article I read about me was written by Billy Jam, and it was about me and Mac Dre and the budding scene in Northern California and the Bay Area. Specifically, I kept calling it the Bay Area. It drove me crazy, but it was like, all right, the budding rap scene in the Bay Area. So you got Mac Dre and you got me, and it was about our music and our criminal history, what we were going through, because I think Mac Dre had been arrested as well.
Right.
And so that was that. And then there was a Psychoactive review.
Right.
And then there was the editorial about the album.
How many mics did you get?
I don't recall what I got on Psychoactive.
Okay.
I don't remember, but it's September 1992 issue.
Okay.
I do remember that.
So let's drag it back. And, I know it's public record, but, and we don't have to get into it if you don't want to, But so you get arrested for the gang-related homicide.
Yeah.
What was that?
And that was like I don't know, that was like my third time being arrested for homicide by that point. But this was, so, you know, they got us, and somebody's talking about this is what they think happened, blah, 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 which had never happened before. So we had, the difference was, you know, it was a new individual, and this individual was talking about, you know.
How they catch up with you though? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So
Man,
what went down? How did they catch? Well, let's go back. What happened?
We had an unfortunate set of circumstances occurred in the South area in relation to gangbanging, right? Let's call it that.
Okay.
And we lost a friend to what we perceived to be action on behalf of some specific gang members, and in retaliation for that, we took action against them, right? Allegedly. And so that's what happened. So in response to that, an individual who participated started talking about, this is what occurred, this is what occurred, this is what occurred. He got arrested, and, you know, informed them who other members were. He didn't have my name specifically, and didn't know who I was, because he was a stepbrother or brother and stepbrother of one of my close associates. And so he wasn't around very often or none of that. And so they always call me Black Ass Chalk, and he didn't know I was X-rated. He just knew I was Black Ass Chalk. So he's trying to remember that. So he's telling the police it was somebody named Ice Cream. So they looking for Ice Cream. And you know what I mean? They're not looking for me. And I'm in Arizona. I had a show in Arizona. I had a show in New Mexico, and I had a show in Tucson. So I had to do New Mexico, then I had to do Phoenix, and then I had to do Tucson. And so I was running around, and they picking the homies off because of this cat. And then I called looking for one of my boys, like, where everybody at? And his mom told me, man, they got arrested. I was like, okay. Yeah. All right. And then when they caught up to almost the second to last, or the last person to be arrested, they told him he was charged with murder. This is what they knew he had done, and he used his alibi as, you know, I was with X-rated. I didn't have nothing to do with that. So he wasn't telling on me, you know, he was just saying, I didn't have nothing to do with that. I was with my boy. Yeah. I got an alibi. That's how they started looking for who's X-rated. And that's how my name came up. And they got a picture of me, and then showed it to the other cat, and he said, that's Ice Cream. Yeah. They was like, that's X-rated. Damn. And so they came and got me in Arizona, got arrested in Tucson, extradited from Maricopa County back to Sacramento, and that was the last time I saw the streets for 25 years.
So you 17. What was that feeling like? I mean, you know, okay, this time there's some serious shit. I got this record out, you know what I mean? I'm facing some real shit. Niggas is telling on me, you know what I mean? Like, what was your psychological at that point when you in there? Because I'm sure you was in the county trying to fight it.
I was. My psychology was this, man, it was devastating. On one hand, I feel great remorse for this family, right? Because things didn't go the way that, you know, this stuff typically is supposed to go. And ironically, very much how it's supposed to go. Is it very rarely goes according to plan, and you don't know that as a child. You know, they say the baby rattlesnake is more dangerous than the adult rattlesnake because it doesn't know that it's born with the same potency of venom as an adult. Right. So it just bites and bites and bites. And I was a baby rattlesnake, it just biting on stuff. And so I did feel a sense of empathy and remorse, but on the other hand, I was not permitted. I was not permitted, and, you know, in this crib, and that's how I felt, like this crib. Yeah. Period. So I was battling those two things that I don't know how cool. I don't think this is necessarily cool. And on the other hand, it's crib. And so, you know, that's a lot for a 17-year-old to have to process. So my psychology really became that of almost just on beast mode. I just warriored out. It's like, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And by the time I got to the county jail, you know, I went through first I had to fight the death penalty, and is it appropriate for a juvenile to be sentenced to a death penalty, or to even have a death penalty case?
Were they trying to give you the gang enhancement?
Oh, they did give me the gang enhancement. There was no trying. Okay. They did everything that you know, ironically, these laws it's not legal to do any of that in the state of California anymore. So the first thing was, we're going to transfer this case to adult court now. Right now, that's not legal. This case for the state in juvenile court. So the first thing that happened in my circumstance that would not be allowed is that it was transferred to adult court. Once it was in adult court, we're going to prosecute this case for capital punishment. seeking the death penalty, which is currently not legal. You can't do that to a 17-year-old, to a juvenile. And then the other one was open case of murder on the, I forget what they call it, the felony murder rule. Is you got 5 people and 1 victim, 1 bullet, 1 gun, and you have 5 people charged with first-degree murder. It's not humanly possible for 5 people to kill one person with 1 bullet, 1 gun.
Right.
And that's no longer legal in the state of California.
Right.
But I experienced all of those things.
Did they try to back that up with conspiracy?
They didn't, which would have been ironic. Well, they did have a throw conspiracy charge on me, but I beat it.
Okay.
So I beat the conspiracy charge and didn't beat the first-degree murder charge, which is ironic because the DA didn't argue that I killed somebody. So you have a district attorney arguing I was guilty of conspiracy and a jury that finds me guilty of first-degree murder, right? Which, you know, we in a time where Snoop's on trial, you got Mike Tyson, all these different things, and these articles being written about me. The other trial, so we split and fractured our trial, so they go to trial before me, and it's, we were just following behind X-rated. That's being said by the lawyers. You know what I mean? It's funny, you know, you have all these conversations. I've never done that to my homies. I never thought it was necessary. They was kids. So I got somebody who was 16, he was even younger than me when we were arrested.
Were you the oldest?
I was one. I was the oldest, actually. I turned 18 first, went to the county jail. Everybody followed behind me.
So the actual shooter was younger than you?
The actual shooter was younger than me, allegedly.
We gonna allegedly.
Well, he was the person in question was acquitted when we went to trial, right? So they found me guilty and found him not guilty because the only 2 people that could have said who did what, it was me or him. And so he might have said, you know, I was with X-rated, and they come arrest me and put us both on trial. So because of things that was stated, we have 4 people, 1 person that's testifying against this. So they split this trial in 2 halves. So the first 2 to go to trial, their lawyers decide that the appropriate defense is to say they was just following behind the rapper. So I got a 1.5 years of we were just following X-rated.
Damn.
On my way to trial, and the big homie saying they're preparing to lock you up. They telling this in the media, this is what they doing. And so they find them guilty, and their whole defense was they was just following behind me, right?
So the alleged shooter put it on you?
He did not. The alleged shooter went to trial with me, so he was one of the ones that also was being you know, a victim of the 2 defense attorneys who were pushing this message, this defense on these other 2. So the 2 of us, we had a severance, and those 2 went to trial together and were convicted, and then he and I went to trial together, and he was acquitted, and I was convicted because only the 2 of us really at that point. The other 2 wasn't gonna come testify on us. You know what I mean? But their lawyers' defense specifically was. It was X-rated. We were following X-rated. So the news media is reporting this for 3 years before I ever make it in the courtroom. And so I already knew what time it was. The big homies know what time it was. I go from 17 to 21. You know what I mean? I go from 180 pounds to 220 pounds. And you know what I mean? So my psychology is like, it's on. I'm going, it is what it is. I'm coming. You know, I'm gonna do me. So I wasn't even. At that point, I already knew it was all bad.
So you were the first rapper that they had your lyrics admissible into court.
They did. They allowed my lyrics to be used against me. I know there was somebody else from Philly who had a death penalty case that they tried to do something similar to. But mine was the first case in the history of hip hop where lyrics, album cover, imagery, all of that.
Let me ask you, so because I know it was rumor where I was in Missouri, but. Because I know they tried to say that it was what, I'm killing aunties, that shit.
Yeah, they tried to do that to me.
But that record was out before the alleged incident, correct?
It was, and not only that, the media, they take the song, the intro to Psychoactive is called The Murder. The second song of Psychoactive is called Still Shooting.
Still Shooting, yeah.
The media, on purpose. And I try to tell, now we got where people suspicious of the media. Back then it was like whatever they said
whatever
goes.
They said was law.
And so they say he made a song called The Murder, and in it he describes this entire set of circumstances, and that was utterly just not true.
Right.
The name of the song is not The Murder, and the song did not describe the circumstance. And if they had used the entire lyrics, so then they quote this, omit that, and edited
so they
the lyrics.
edited the context.
They edited the context to fit the narrative they wanted, changed the name of the song, and ran with that story, and then the AP picked it up, and that became the story that got told.
Then they even tried to say that the gun you had was the set to put the cherry on top.
Even though they never found the gun, never performed forensics on it or anything, but the story is that gun on the album cover is the gun of the crime. So they made all that up.
Yeah, damn.
They made 100% of that up, and the jury bit.
So truth be told, okay, even though you may have allegedly been there around maybe in the, you really got convicted because of being a rapper and your lyrics.
Yeah, I got convicted on the basis of this dangerous rapper needs to be off the street.
Wow.
And then there's an argument that society was safer with me gone, but they'd be gone for something I really did. You know what I mean? So what was I guilty of? You know what I mean?
So let me ask you, was your defense, okay, I might be guilty-ish. I may have been around, but I didn't do what you said that I did.
That was not our defense was, I didn't do that.
Right.
And so it almost felt like, okay, you didn't do it, prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't have to prove it.
Yeah, the burden of proof is on you.
Right, but they break all the rules when they break all the rules when it comes to African Americans being arrested at all.
Right.
Nevertheless, for African American being arrested, that's a rapper.
Right.
Right. So now all the rules getting broken.
Yeah.
And they continue to do that. You know, if you wrote a book and you put that book out, they're not gonna go arrest the author because it's a murder similar to the book occurred or something and say this is a crime because you wrote about it. You're the reason this happened or none of that, but they do that to our culture, and that's because authors aren't predominantly African American and rappers are. Right. And so it's just a vehicle to feed the prison industrial complex, and that's what they do. And so I was a victim of that, and now people have a greater understanding because it occurs with so much more frequency on a greater scale, and people can see it, and that these are children. And I'm empathetic to that too. A 17-year-old child.
Yeah.
I was a 17-year-old child.
Yeah, real talk. Same thing with me, bro. I was 15 when I first got locked up. We had robbed a bunch of gun stores. I got charged with shooting into an occupied dwelling, unlawful use of a weapon, armed criminal action, you name it, I did it. You know what I'm saying? But looking back on it, I mean, I'm 15. You know what I'm saying? I'm wayward. I'm going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was doing shit that now at this age, I'm like, damn, I can't believe I did that. Like, I wouldn't do that shit in a million years now.
Yeah.
But, they say that your frontal lobe cortex or whatever it's called ain't even completely formed.
Yeah, the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, until 2021
25.
25.
Yeah, and that's what happened with me. So there's a case called Miller versus Alabama that went to the United States Supreme Court. And I remember first discovering that this was entering the courts in like 2002. So this is around when I started thinking like, okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on this because I had the twinkle of a hope. I had already lost all my appeals, but it's like maybe these laws will change. We saw some stuff starting to move in the state, and we're hopeful. And so Miller versus Alabama goes to the Supreme Court, and the argument was that juveniles should not be subject to capital punishment. That capital punishment was cruel and unusual punishment as defined by the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And so I started keeping an eye on that. That argument progressed and got ruled on, and they determined that juveniles should not be put to death and capital punishment cases should not be subjected to that because specifically the neurology.
Right.
So it was like a child has not progressed far enough and matured far enough scientifically to determine if they're redeemable or not. So to say that their life should just be over.
Absolutely.
And that was ruled on, and then they took a shot at the states by saying, we believe that this discussion should extend to the concept of life. We believe that the same is true when it comes to life without the possibility of parole and with 31-25 to life, 15 to life sentences. And so now the states hear that happen, they start freaking out.
Yeah.
Because if as constructed, if the Supreme Court have received a case on that subject, they made it very clear already where they would rule. And so you have all these states who have monetized imprisoning these juveniles and keeping them for life. You know, you can they will pay themselves. The state of California will pay itself $68,500 per inmate to house you and catch you when you're 16 and keep you till you die.
Wow.
And pay itself.
Yeah.
Every year for you being there.
Yeah.
Right. And I tell people, if you want to know if it's nefarious or if it's you get arrested under penal code and you get sentenced under commercial code. Right. So they transporting you from, it's a transaction between the county and the state. You are a property, a product, and this product is being sold to the state. Right. It's human trafficking.
So that makes sense of why, you know, a lot of these record companies are, you know what I'm saying, invested into that world, because now they have artists that are promoting.
They
are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're doing a promotion. So they like, okay, promote this, you know, this criminality, you know, and this imagery. And okay, we gonna win on both sides.
Oh, they went in, they own the mortuary, they own the cemetery, they own the prison, they own the distribution company, they own the private prisons. They have investments into that. They own it all. So we're going to get the money from the entertainment, which perpetuates the lifestyle, which will fill up all of the rest of our business. We're going to fill up this graveyard, and we're going to fill up this prison. Yeah. And we're going to pay ourselves for it.
Wow.
And that's what they've done.
Shit.
It has been constructed.
Yeah.
It's been going down for a while.
Man, so
since the end of slavery. I mean, literally.
There was no such thing as the end of slavery.
Right? It just transitioned.
Yeah, slavery is hereby abolished in these United States of America, except as a punishment for those duly convicted of a crime. That's what the 13th Amendment says. Yeah. It does not say it's abolished. It says except. So slavery was modified. It was not abolished. It was modified.
Wow.
And so as soon as that's done and that was ratified, they created vagrancy laws to ensure. So we've said it's abolished except, and now we're going to put laws in place to make sure that the except is utilized. 100%. And that was the invention of prison. The concept of prison in the United States of America was literally a response. And policing. Was in response to the abolishment of slavery.
Wow. Damn, that's a cold piece.
The modification of slavery.
So you get this. So you went to trial, correct? You didn't cop the plea.
No, I went to trial.
Okay, you went to
trial.
trial.
Do it to me. Yeah. You had to give it to me, player. I need all that. Go on and do it then.
So were they trying to plead with you?
They did. I got offered a manslaughter, midterm on a manslaughter, but I would have had to say this is what really occurred. I was not willing to do that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I went back and told the fellas this is what's going on. And we had some conflict over people who had not reported that they had been offered something similar to that. And we resolved that amongst ourselves and agreed that everybody we're gonna face this. And we're not gonna harm each other. And that was our agreement. And so I went to trial.
Did everybody stand with that?
Yeah, the four of us did stand with that. But outside of their lawyers' defenses being we were hypnotized by the rapper, which, you know, whatever. Yeah,
so you go, so here you are 17, 18, you get hit with, was it 31 to life?
I got 25 to life and a 6-year gang enhancement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you basically, in essence, 31 years.
31 to life.
Okay, so damn, what's going through your head when that happens?
Let's go. Like, let's go. I'm at this point, fuck this county jail. Let's go. Let me go get my Walkman and get my workout, and whoever got a problem, I'm coming. That's how I felt. This crib. That's how I felt.
So you ran into Mac Dre in the county?
I did. I ran into Mac Dre in the county jail,
Is he the one now? It was rumored, I don't know if this story was true, did he put you up on game with the phone and the rapping over the phone?
So Lynch, we're working on 24 Deep before I got arrested. And then Lynch, I had not recorded vocals for it. So he sampled me on songs, but he hadn't recorded me or anything for me. So Lynch had me call in and I did something on the answering machine on 24 Deep.
Oh, yeah. Was it, I got the call at the payphone. Yeah, okay.
40s in the thing, got that 9 grams. So I did that on the answering machine and Lynch sampled it and put it in the song. And then that blew up. And so Mac Dre was aware of that because he was listening. So he had heard 24 Deep and he was like, man, how'd y'all do that? And I told him, man, I'll just do it on the answering machine. He was like, man, this is what we did. This is what you got to do. So he was like, we took the phone apart No, he said we plugged the phone directly into the board. That was how he said it. And I was like, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. And his brother Kyrie, a young black brother, I
remember Kyrie.
He was advanced. Kyrie don't get none of his props, but he was a beast. And so Kyrie had that worked out, and Mac Mall and all them were recording. Mac Dre was recording stuff for them over the phone, and then I think he did live from Fresno County Jail. And so they gave me that game, and then I took that to an engineer named John Botch from a studio called Inharmonic, which is the first studio Lynch took me to, a real studio, because we went from Percy's bedroom to Inharmonic like in a matter of 3 days. It was like if you can afford, if you got to pay for your studio time, but you pay for the time, and I'll make sure that you get your stuff recorded correctly. That was Lynch.
Right.
And then what I would do is pay for the time, and I would finish so fast that I would let him have the rest of the studio time. So I'll just book more time than I needed, sell some dope, pay for the studio time, and then let Lynch have everything after I finished what I was doing. And that was how he was recording 24 Deep.
Okay.
And then other people got involved and started helping as well. But anyway, he fast forward, I take that back to John Botch, and John Botch is like, I think we could expound on that. And so he took the phone apart, soldered the wires, the transmitters, and plugged it directly in the board to service as a microphone. So everything I said through the phone came out of the mix board. And then I called on another phone, and he had that soldered and plugged it in so that the music came out of the phone. So I'm listening to the beat on one headphone, and I'm rapping the beat on one phone.
Damn.
A phone with the beat and a phone with the mic.
Yeah.
And that was how I recorded Exorcist.
Exorcist.
In the day room in the county jail.
Another classic.
Man.
Yeah. So did you have to hide to do that from
I
the
did
guards
not.
and shit? Really?
No.
They just let you do it?
I was the unequivocal king of my county jail. There is no question about that.
Okay.
Anywhere I wanted to go, did whatever I wanted to do. I never locked my door, nothing. I'm just, it's X-rated in Sacramento County.
Yeah.
Coming from Psychoactive having been made and them being just as proud as the city was, right?
Yeah.
So you had some of these cops were just as proud as anybody else. Like that, yep, there you go. And it's like there is no phone list. There's no.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doing nothing wrong.
Oh, okay. So what? No. Okay,
like
I got you.
What he uses his phone time for is what he uses it for. And we can't see that he broke a rule.
Okay.
And so now you either have to invent a rule, or you have to leave him alone.
Yeah.
And so
651 I Street, that became the new studio right there.
It did.
Yeah.
5 West.
Yes, sir.
5 West.
Yeah. So was that a plan? So you said fuck it, that you like I got this sentence, but who was instrumental in saying, but we're gonna continue? You figured this shit out, we're gonna do another.
I wasn't sentenced yet when we started working on Exorcist.
Okay.
Really, it was like Lynch. After we did what we did on 24 Deep, Lynch was just, Lynch, just pushing this X-rated, period. That's how he felt.
Yeah.
Like my little brother is Savage. At this point, we done been together for years.
Yeah.
And as much as I idolized Lynch, Lynch idolized me. You know what I mean? I was everything that he wasn't, and he was everything that I wasn't. And so when I looked at who do I aspire musically, Lynch was the bar. Yeah. You know what I mean? As dope as I was, or how fast I came out before Lynch, Lynch was somebody that I looked at like, okay, technique wise, certain aspects. I think bar for bar, some people would say that I went more hip hop faster earlier, and that it changed in terms of us when it comes to written rhymes, but in terms of cadence and delivery, Lynch was by far the most dopest deliverer of rhymes in the history of hip hop.
Yeah, for sure.
If delivery was kung fu, Lynch was black belt.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
And a master.
Was it Bout It, or what was the verse that we talked about?
Which one?
The Lynch one. We talked about one verse where it was like lyrically, I think it might have been his verse on the
you talking about About It? Yeah. Was it situational? No, that wasn't situational.
The bullet hole by the gas tank.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like we both talked about that. Like,
Yeah.
Is there anything doper than this on this, like in this year?
Yeah, Lynch was a genius. He was a genius. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were really like there was a bullet hole by the gas tank. You know what I mean? Like it was true.
Yeah.
Gives me goosebumps. Like that's what it really was.
Yeah.
And so I was this mascot for people who weren't willing to do some of the stuff that I was doing. It's normal intersection and it's going down. We was out the car tripping right then and there. Yeah. Like I was that person. I was the baby rattlesnake. And Lynch was proud of me and mortified at the same time. You know what I mean? He was glad I was around and terrified at the same time. Like like, man, little bro, be easy. It's gonna be okay. And I'm like, why? Who tripping? Like, why wouldn't it be okay? Like, I was super, I didn't understand. I had no discipline. I had no concept of boundaries. Anybody could get it was a real thing. I meant that.
That EBK was real.
It literally was a real thing.
Yeah.
And so Lynch was always worried, like, the last thing I need is for you to die or go to jail. Like, he knew it. And Bo, Sebo too, all three of them, you know, really, there was three specific people, Cedric, Lynch, and Sebo, who was telling me, like, bro, your next year you won't even recognize your own life. Just relax. You got to chill out. They were the only ones telling me that. But I would go back to Munson Way and Florence Road, and it's like, this Crip, this where we at. It is. I didn't have a difference between my life and my vocation at all. And now I have these clearly defined roles, and I demand both feet in business for my artists. But as a direct result of that, I got this compound and a place for my artists to go specifically because when I left the studio, I was back on the set.
Yeah, real talk.
So trying to tell me we having a business experience here, and I leave that, and I'm back on the set. I'm surviving. Period. I'm a lead, and even if that means I got to be out here tripping. So I wanted my artists to have somewhere where when you sign this deal and you want to be here, you know what I mean? We spent a portion of our morning looking up houses so we can put these brothers somewhere. Like, stay out of trouble. Here's a pool.
Chill. Just chill so we can work.
Don't go home.
We did the same.
You signed a deal. Don't go home. You
I
here.
think that's so important too, man, because I mean, you know the politics in North Sacramento where I'm from, and the studio that I worked at, it was the set.
Right.
So we had a producer that left and went to Steve's Liquor, which is a block away, right? And got smoked at the liquor store. Like, it wasn't even, we never even had that separation, right? It was just like, this is where we're at. And you could get shot outside on the
Black Market's the headquarters was in
Power
G
In?
Parkway, bro.
Oh,
Power In. By the time they got the Power In, I had 3 records out. I had 3
If you talking about
albums
the
out.
G, that's
We literally were in a garage in Cedric's house in G Parkway.
my cousin was at G Parkway.
Right. So
Right
that was my record label.
Yeah.
So now if I get sent to the studio, I'm going to Inharmonic, or I'm going to LA, or I'm going to Pajamas Up, and I'm going to San Francisco or to Richmond. I'm going to the Bay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my choices. But when that's done, I'm going right back to 24th Street, 29th Street, Florence Road, and Munson Way, or I'm at Cedric's in G Parkway.
Yeah.
And even coming over there, just
I did the same thing,
moron.
bro.
I got blue rag hanging out my pocket, a pistol in my in the hoodie from Psychoactive on. Then like, here I come.
Yeah.
And that was how I was moving around all the time. It was insane. I say this to say that was utterly insane. I hope nobody feels inspired by this. We can laugh about it.
Right.
Like, I was wild. I was nuts. That shit was utterly insane.
Yeah.
Right? And if Pac had survived his night in Vegas, he would say, that shit was utterly insane. If he had survived it and lived through it, you look back on it, I would not encourage none of y'all to do that.
No, real talk.
We could have accomplished all this shit in a different kind of way.
Without that shit. But then at some time, you know, I mean, like they say, you know, bad chapters in our lives make for good stories, you know, great stories. But, and it, you know, it created who we are today. Because I did the same shit. I signed with P. I signed with No Limit. I was like 17, 18. And I can remember being in Oakland. This is when we were still in Oakland.
Yeah.
And I remember we were in the studio. We in K. Lou's studio. Oakland. Yeah, we was in K. Lou's studio.
In K. Lou's studio.
Yeah.
In Oakland.
So let me tell you what my dumb ass say. So I'm sitting up there in the studio with Beats by the Pound. I'm telling P, I'm like, bro, I got to get back home. He like, what the fuck you got? What's in Kansas City? What you got to go back for? I had some, you know, I had some weight. I had to get back and get to it. I'm like, dog, this music shit cool. Just let me go back for a few days because I got to get whatever I had to get off. You know what I'm saying?
How long them 2 days turn into?
You know, well, nah, he wouldn't let me go back.
Oh, that's what's up.
Because he told me, he said, dog, if I send you back, you're going to go to jail, you're going to get killed.
Yep.
Straight up.
He was
you know
right.
what I'm saying? He was like, you're going to go to jail, you're going to get
killed. And
you
wasn't willing to do
But
no
my mentality, right?
You was going to go to jail.
Yeah. I had to get back and get to it. You know what I'm saying? I had a couple pounds I was trying to, you know what I mean? We didn't be talking about weed. You know what I'm saying?
We do what we
but
know.
I had to get to it, you know? So I had that mentality too. And fast forward, you know, as I, you know, grew to have my own artists and shit, I learned you got to kind of think for them and protect them. Because sometimes they don't have the foresight.
They do
you
not.
know, and they don't have the discipline. They don't understand. But that's part of being a leader.
And maybe we don't even need them to yet.
Right.
What they need is to have a safe environment where the people that are responsible for those items are sincere people,
right?
And they're gonna do the right thing,
right?
And then we need them to stay in that moment, stay in this energy. If I had to deal with all that other stuff, that atmosphere we talking about on Psychoactive, I couldn't have created that atmosphere, worried about publishing rights and all that. I couldn't have done that, but that still needed to be done in a way where my interests were protected. And Cedric, for the most part, made sure that was true for me.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had a blessed circumstance, but the truth is, we do want our artists to be able to stay in that energy and stay in that atmosphere that they're creating for their art. Yeah, man. So it's like, stay here. There ain't no leaving.
Right.
Vegas been good to us, man. Shout out to Vegas, Henderson, Nevada. It's been real good to us. Summerlin, all of it. And so, you know, we real proud of that. But back then, I didn't have that.
Right.
I didn't have that. So my mind was, you know, I left and I had one foot in a studio. I had a toe in the studio and I had 9 toes on the block, period. And so by the time I was headed to prison, or even when we were making Exorcist, you could hear that. And I was telling Lynch, like, man, you know, I got these songs. And low key really was the impetus for it. Me and Lynch, I would call Lynch, we sit on the phone and Lynch would be like, I just wrote something. I'd be like, me too. And so me and Lynch swapping verses on the phone. And low key is like listening to this shit on the phone, telling everybody these dudes are this is the dopest shit you will ever hear, and it's not even recorded.
Right.
It's just me and Lynch playing on the phone, showing each other verses. This is what I'm working on. This was because I'm his favorite rapper and he's my favorite rapper.
Right.
And so we wanted each other to be impressed, and we were. And so he was like, we gotta record this shit. We gotta record this shit. And so I was like, yo, this is what Mac Dre told me to do, blah, blah, blah. Low key told Cedric that. I talked to Cedric. Cedric talked to John Botch. I talked to John Botch, and that was how we actually ended up setting it up, coming from what Mac Dre had told me, and that was the impetus for getting Exorcist done. And then, and then boom.
So let me ask you something.
567,000 copies. Like
that motherfucker was a classic.
Yeah.
I remember I had a blue Cutlass with some blue Daytons and 10 switches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
that
was
feeling real
shit.
good.
Oh, feeling real good. You know, feeling real loked out.
Straight up.
You know what I mean? So, let me ask you, because on that album, and I know Lynch is your big brother, and I know whatever, it's what I thought, but did y'all have a misunderstanding doing Exorcist? In terms of, because I know, what was the song?
I Ain't Dead Yet.
Yeah, that, and it was like Close the Casket or something like that, where,
Open the
you know, where because I know Lynch had said something like, oh, that nigga X, you know what I'm saying, but he dead until he get free or something like that.
Yeah.
Did y'all have a little riff? Did you feel
some
kind of way?
As an adult with an emotional intelligence, I could tell you he hurt my feelings.
Right.
Well, let's say he hurt my feeling.
Yeah.
He hurt I have about one feeling left.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
And Lynch hurt that thing.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that X is dead. So Lynch had this concept, you know, dead man walking thing. That was a whole concept for him, right? And so I don't know that, right? So all I hear is X is dead.
Yeah.
And I felt like, nigga,
yeah,
fuck you talking about?
Yeah.
I really did. I felt I was harmed by that. Like, nigga, I ain't no dead, nigga.
Yeah.
Until I get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm alive like a motherfucker, and I technically would like to still beat this trial. You know what I mean? So I did. I took offense to that. And then me and honestly, like I was a tripper. I was a gangbanger, bro. Everything somebody said to me needed to be qualified.
Right.
And so some people who didn't have access to me to understand, there was a reason that I was under them prisons and I was where I was. And, you know, now it's mythological stuff, but I was a gang banger. Somebody talking to me needed to be, first I had to respect them, and secondly they need to be meaning what they were saying, and it needed to be very clear, or I was gonna ask what you mean. I was like, it was what it was. What you mean by that? What you mean by that? What you talking about? Even if it was something cool, and I'd be like, oh, that's dope. You know what I mean? Like, I had to be taught that. Somebody had to tell me, hey man, when you ask people what they mean, bro, you freaking people out. You know what I mean? And you know how it is.
Yeah.
I was working out for war back then.
Yeah.
And so I started losing weight, but specifically my attorney's like, nobody's letting this guy come home from prison.
Yeah.
You're not.
Look too intimidating.
Yeah, I know this man, they don't want you to be their neighbor.
Yeah.
You look frightening. Jet black hair, you got jet black face, you got big old, and like you got to change. So I changed everything in the way I was approaching life so that I could modify to be able to pass that's the experience.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I'm literally designed for warfare, because that's what it was. When I get to this environment, it's gonna be war, and I was prepared for that in every way, and mentally and spiritually, which doesn't prepare you for decent relations with your friend, with civilians.
With civilians, yeah.
And at that point, Lynch was a civilian to me, and so Lynch saying I was dead harmed me in a way that he couldn't imagine, because to him it was our artistic statement.
Yeah, right. I got you.
To me, it was I'm fighting for my motherfucking life. You know, what the fuck you talking about? You know what I mean? So I took that wrong, and anything else somebody had to say wrong, and I always overreacted, and people did have to be cautious with me, and then I got the streets. And so if I decide fuck with this nigga talking about anybody, then that was gonna ripple down and be a problem into my family's Garden Blocc royalty. So I was a dangerous dude to not be cool with, even if you was my partner.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I know exactly where you was at, because I knew a couple cats like that.
Yeah.
They was volatile, unpredictable.
I was very volatile.
You can say some shit. I had a partner like that did like 15 years, and it was like I would be talking to him, and he would say, hit me with the same shit. I mean, what you mean though, cuz? I'm like,
oh crap.
Nigga, I just said, man, what's up? Like, nigga, you said what's up? Like, what's up? I'm like, dog, I was saying hello.
Hello.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, cuz.
Was that Joe Pesci? Was that with Goodfellas? The clown to you?
I was like Mouse.
I
was like Mouse from Easy Rollins from Devil in a Blue Dress.
Oh, yeah.
I was like that.
Yeah.
Like when he shot the dude and Easy comes back to the car and he's like, what the fuck you kill him for? He said, that's what I do.
Yeah, he was
what
like,
the fuck you
he was like, I just choked him.
For?
Yeah, he was like, I just choked him.
Yeah, like that was all.
Like that was it. Yeah,
I really had there were some issues that needed to be worked out with me, but a lot of that was fostered by, you know, it was. We don't, as gang members in our culture, we don't want to admit these things, because you're supposed to have an absence of these things. But my response to fear was insanity.
Yeah.
My response to it was then I don't give a fuck. Then I'm the Joker. Then it just period. If I'm not feeling, I'm not afraid of nothing. All that I would angry at myself if I felt fear.
Yeah.
My response to me feeling fear was to destroy everything.
Yeah.
Then I was
nuts. That's the thing in the hood, bro. I tell people that all the time, dog. Like with my environment in Kansas City, I'm from an area called the 4 Block. Which was,
I'm up on the 4 Block.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? 4 Block, exactly. So I grew up there, born and raised from KU Medical Center right there.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, when you had gangs and crack cocaine and all that shit invade the streets, right? I became a product of my environment. See, in the household, I was raised on love. I wasn't raised on survival, so it's different. But when I come outside, you know what I mean? When you see what it is I'm seeing this nigga got shot. This nigga got robbed for his starter coat. He got robbed for his Jordans. Oh, they packed him out. So now
I ain't accepted none of that.
I'm fearful, but I'm scared.
Yeah.
So what I do is I'm like, shit, I'm not gonna be a victim. Right. So I tool up. Give me a little 22, you know, a little 25, a little Lorson, High Point, whatever I can get. And so I'm like, nah, that ain't gonna happen to me, but I'm scared. You know what I'm saying? So then what happens is when you do something, you know what I'm saying, out of fear, then it gets good to you. Now you start perpetuating the same thing that you were afraid of.
I gave you
become
power.
Part of the problem.
You become Nas. I gave you power.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then you see how your peers, they you know, they like, oh shit, he'll bang that thing. He with the shit, and you kind of like,
juice.
Yeah. You know, them motherfuckers is kind of back. Then they ain't trying to fuck with you. Then So now you just get caught up in the whirl with
that literally,
and it starts from fear.
Yeah,
it starts from fear.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah. Same thing happened to me.
Yeah, like I'm not, like go to prison and what? It's gonna be what? Like, okay, let's find out about that then. Let's go. Because I'm going.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like I'm coming.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, it's gonna be like this. Is that right?
So when you got there, did they try to put you in PC because of your celebrity?
Initially, so there was no such thing as that when I got to prison. They did. You have one protective custody unit in the state of California. It's at Corcoran. That's where Charles Manson and all of them are. And it's notoriously difficult to get into that. And so you have these what we call soft yards. So there were soft yards with no label on them, and a lot of niggas came home from those. Perpetuating like they were like if a nigga was at bro, let me tell you, if a nigga was at CMC, and I don't give a fuck who it is, and some of these niggas had my name in their mouth, and I took that, I accepted that. A lot of that is let me survive parole. I've been on parole. I was a lifer. I was in prison for gang activity. I didn't go to prison because I got caught selling dope. I didn't go to prison because I had a pistol. I went to prison banging a block. I went to prison with a life sentence on behalf of banging a block. But you got rappers who come home like, oh, I went to the pen, I was on this yard. You ain't had no life sentence. You didn't go to prison banging your neighborhood. Why are you talking about me and what my experience is? Some of these dudes didn't even go to prison to be considered celebrities. They put them on a yard and consider them gang members. In regard to you as a celebrity, and they take that as a badge of honor. It's like, no. The Department of Corrections didn't even respect your career. They have no regard for you. Throw your ass right on out there, and because you go, I could do it. Yeah. Because so they want to talk, man. CMC is one of the softest yards in the state of California, period. They just didn't put a label on it. Start asking these dudes where they paroled from, right? Oh, I was at San Quentin on such and such yard. It's the softest institution in the state of California, the most technologically advanced institution, and the greatest place to be if you want to get an education and go to self-help groups. And it's very hard to get there because they want to keep it that way. They got a few of them like that. Ironwood, technology. They doing coding. They learning the properties of nanotech.
Coding in prison?
Yes. It's sponsored by Scott Bucknick, who developed the anti-recidivism coalition and all these different things. The director of The Hangover has sponsored the institution. Wow. And to do the parole from there, like, I just came home from, like, knock it off. And my choices was Pelican Bay State Prison. My choices was New Folsom. My choices was to go to Corcoran. My choices would go level 4 with 100 points. These dudes gotten off the bus with 30 points. Talk about X-rated. Like, come on, man. So I did 28 years, 3 months, level 4, 180, between 180 and finally 270 design before I finally was given a level 3 status. And then I did level 3 for a year and a half and 6 months on the level 2 and came out. Wow. So mine is completely upside down.
So let me ask you this. So you did The Xorcist, which was a fucking classic and commercially successful, obviously going gold. And
it was.
Then you did Unforgiven.
Yeah.
Right. So the quality changed.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So explain that.
So
because it sounded like you was in the fucking studio in prison.
Yeah, I remember when we made Xorcist, that was the one thing I heard, like, this is lyrically, the delivery is advanced. They call it genius level delivery in the reviews.
But I'm saying
Playboy
saying the sound quality.
I know, and this is what I was inspired by for Playboy magazine writing about Xorcist. But he did it on the phone, and I'm like, okay, if I could do something with superior audio quality, and I knew that, but I was in the county jail, getting that kind of access to recording equipment in the county jail was going to be more difficult. But I knew that in the pen, it was going to be a little different, because if you got some money, you could get whatever you wanted. And so I'm active still, when I first, to answer your question, when I first got to reception center, me and Sebo were cellies. And so my first cellie was Big No Love from 24th Street. And then Sebo showed up, his cell was empty. I moved up there with Bo so we could write some songs. We were working, Tupac had just done, we put him on All Eyes on Me. Right. So it was like he was about to sign the Machiavelli Records. So it's like, let's get this record, let's get this album knocked out. Let's have these records lit. And so we really were working on that. And I got all these songs, and I don't know if I'm coming home or not. So I'm like giving Bo pieces of what became Unforgiven. I gave Bo Macaframalama. Wow. I handed it to him fully written out. Yeah. And he learned it and knew it and just didn't, it wasn't one of the songs that he chose. Yeah. Gave him Daily Game, so me and Bo, and then Bo went to the dorms, and I brought in the homie Squabbler from 29th Street. So that's how I started my sentence. And so when they took me to reception and they talking about these soft yards that they had, I told them, I'm literally on my first classification form, it says, put me with the rest of the Crips. That was my statement to them. This is the rest of my life. Right. It's where I'm finna be. I don't know nothing about no Folsom A yard, which I never went to. It didn't go into CMC or none of that. I don't even think I was eligible for that because of my points. And the way they place you is based on your the severity of your crime and your point system, right? So somebody showing up with a gun case ain't going to, we ain't gonna be on the same point system or in the same
They
facility.
gave you first degree or second degree?
I have first degree murder.
Okay, all right.
Second degree would probably be sentenced to 15 to life at the most. You know, I had a 25 to life sentence, a 6-year gang enhancement, and a life sentence.
Okay, all right.
So my choices was all level 4 180 design, and I can only say, you know, these 2 areas these are the places you're gonna go, and they do a referral for an endorsement. So the state got to endorse you. So a counselor recommends it, the state endorses it. And my 2 recommendations were Pelican State Prison and Folsom State Prison, right? With a whole argument from the judge about why I needed to have consideration with where they placed me because of my legacy. And you got snipers on the roof during my trial. You have cameras in there during my trial. You got all this going on. And so the judge is saying there should be some consideration where you place them. When they did my youth offender, youth authority evaluation, which they have to do, even though I came from being juvenile court to adult court, they still had to do a youth authority evaluation on me. And they said, we put this person inside of this facility to monitor him for his evaluation, and literally disrupted everything in our facility, from employees to other people, other wards. You have to be conscious of where you place him and how you place him. He's going to have a significant degree of impact on your environment. So they're telling them, and I'm currently the king of my county jail. You can do whatever I want. You got 1/2 of a building from the top to the bottom of it. I could do anything I want in there. And I probably could have recorded an album in there. It just seems like it was easy. You know, it didn't occur to me to try to get a studio in the county jail, but I probably could have. I literally could have done it. And so I'm leaving that like, all right, Pelican Bay and Folsom. That's what you want to do to me. Like, cool, let's go. Which is, again, another thing that's not legal now. So you juvenile. You get tried as an adult. Even if you got tried as an adult somehow, when they place you in prison, you have to be placed with other people who consider youth offenders. So the doctors and the scientists and the Department of Correction and the laws have now determined the same thing, that you have to, these kids should not be thrown out there with everybody. But that's what happened with me. And so I told her to put me with the rest of the Crips. That's where I went. So boom, I go to Folsom. I'm working on writing all of these songs, which was, you know, for me, I got to be with my big homies, Dooney from 29th Street, John Windham, who came home recently, has been a force for, he has Soldiers with a Purpose. SWAP is his movement. Me going from rival neighborhoods to our own neighborhoods and tripping on people. Don't sell no dope out here. You poison in the community. You a cancer. So, but when I got a hold of him in the beginning, when I first showed up, he gave me game. This is how it's gonna be. This is what you need to do. Put me in the show with the homie Barry from 24th Street, one of the founders of my neighborhood as a whole. I got to spend time with him before I ended up being a disruption in that environment, and they put me under the prison. And then put me on the bus and say, you gonna go be somebody else's problem. And I don't know, I didn't intend to be a problem. All I'm doing is getting off the bus and I'm boom, X-Rated is here. The female staff are out of pocket, right? They all out of pocket. Hey, how you doing? That's happening. They got the officers they want to make some money. So what's up, man? You need something? I got that going. It got all the hatred that comes with that, and you got all the love that comes with that. And it's all centers on this one person showed up. So how about we come get him in the middle of the night, throw him in a single cell in the hole, and then take his ass to committee and send him somewhere else. And then so that happened to me for a while. And so they put an order in my file that said that from institution to institution communication, that the safest course of action in dealing with me was to not allow me to remain anywhere longer than a year or two. And that if I did, I would have undue influence. And they accidentally, I think she gave it to me on purpose, but I showed up somewhere and they were giving me my property. And when they gave me the property, they gave me the memorandum, and it was technically the prior institution talking to the institution receiving me, telling them that. And that was how I found out that they were telling each other that they needed to, that I had to be monitored, and that I had to have instability, that if they gave me stability. So they saying, even if you allow him at your institution, you need to move him around your yards, because if you leave him on one too long, he's gonna dominate it. And they're warning each other. So I end up at Salinas Valley, and they left me there too long.
So it was true.
It was true.
It was true.
Yeah. Okay.
It was true, but I wasn't doing that deliberately.
Yeah. It was a fact check. That was true.
It was true.
Yeah.
It was true. I didn't know I was a baby rattlesnake. I didn't know that I had influence and power. All I knew was I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I was operating off of pure primal hunger.
Yeah.
You know, just driven by, I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. And that just happened to be, I'm going to do some music. Mm-hmm. And so I end up with, they left me there too long. I got the radio station done. They talking about me. I'm calling in on the phone. What's happening? What y'all doing? Oh, man, that's right on the phone. And so I done got the radio stations, which is ironic because you got the officers listening to the radio. The radio is on in the warden's office, and I'm in the day room on the phone, and it's like, what in the fuck is this dude doing on the radio? Who let that happen? It's like, what do you mean who let it happen? It's his phone call. He signed up for it.
Yeah.
He just called the radio station, and what can you do about that?
Right.
I'm not breaking the law. I'm not breaking the rules, so all they could do is be mad.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of people angry.
It's hating.
A lot. Because it was just stuff that you don't allow, but you can't stop. You know what I mean? And so I end up in a situation where I'll get put in Vibe magazine. Billy Day, the same one, wrote about me and Mac Dre, and the source wrote about me after Xorcist and what I would do after that. And I was working on I was writing new music still, but it was more a what's up with X-rated story. And so that comes through the mail in Vibe, and the officer that brought me that magazine handed me, he said, have you read this yet? I was like, nah. He said, just an article, and he had marked it for me. And so I sat down and read it, and he told me he knew a better way that I could do my music.
Damn, that's dope. And that's from an officer.
An officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I end up with every piece of recording equipment. You know, I told Cedric, I gave him a letter, and, you know, he took that letter.
So you actually had DATs and all that shit in there?
I had, I've had every form of recording equipment inside of an institution.
They let you have that in your cell, or you had to move around with it?
So anywhere I went, right, in my particular section, I was gonna be in the top 3 in command of where I was from, if not in command of where I was from. So the younger it was, the more it was I ran it, and the older, if I had older homies, then they designated a lot to me. And then I did my thing, and they chilled out a little bit. You know what I mean? So everywhere I went, I was in control of that. And then you also had how that influenced my relationships with all the rest of the Crips. And then how that would bleed over into diplomatic relations with if people was hungry. You know, if I show up, you got people been on these yards 5, 6 years. Some people doing their whole lives here. Yeah. So you got what I call windows open on the yard. Yeah. This person might have been over here long enough to have developed a relationship with this person who would bring anything, but he can't afford it. I can. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I got a package you need to pick up. How much does it cost for this? Yeah. What's in it? Yeah. If it's a mystery box, they got a price for a mystery box because they risking more. Yeah. If it's like, specifically only, I don't do narcotics, but I do technology. That got a price on it. Right. I'll do narcotics and technology. That got a price on it. Right. All these things, everything can be purchased in that environment. Okay. It's its own ecosystem with its own economy and its own ramifications and its own. And so I was in position to where I could take advantage of that and amplify and put steroids on what anybody else had accomplished. So a lot of people would just hand things. I inherited a lot because I could do things that they couldn't do. They couldn't afford to do it.
So you got a whole studio in prison, basically.
Repeatedly.
Yeah. So how many albums did you put out? Because you put out more albums while you was locked up than people that was free.
I did, and had a longer career than people who were free.
How many albums did you drop when you was locked up?
Oh, man, I think somewhere around 12 original albums and probably 5 or 6 remix, remaster, collection types. So probably somewhere around 20-something.
Damn, so
total.
Basically an album a year damn near.
Yeah, practically.
Yeah.
Something like that it averages out to. I think they were separated a little, 92. So we could count Psychoactive kind of. But then Xorcist, Unequivocally, Unforgiven, Nefarious, Vengeance Is Mine, Initiation, City of Kings, Ignition with Low Key, 3 X-Files, Unforgiven, Volume 2, In the Beginning, remix, remasters, Block Business. I mean,
So let me ask you this, because I know
Active 2 signed a deal with Brian Shafton to release my last 3 projects. Before I even came home, I already had a deal with Brian Shafton.
Right. So we gonna get to that. So you locked up. You still active. You still evolving mentally, but you are where you are. You know what I mean? The environment's the environment. I know you had funk when you was in there.
I did.
It was a situation, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I thought it happened. It was a minute ago. You got stabbed when you was in there.
Yeah, somebody
over some. They wanted you to do their record or some shit like
that. They did.
They
wanted me to. This is late. This is like 2010. You know what I mean? And it was just utter trash.
Yeah,
it's something I had no respect for. You know what I mean?
What happened? What was that situation? Because I didn't know if that was a rumor.
No, it wasn't a rumor. An individual who. So having this influence everywhere I've ever been, right? And if somebody who can't fathom. Now that I'm home, people say, look at his life. Like, holy shit. The question is, how long have I had this?
Yeah.
Now you can see the cars. You can see the building. You can see the houses and how he dressed. Like, okay, X came home having paper. Yeah. How long was that already true?
Right.
I wasn't out running around blowing my money like other people and people who came home suffering. I came home straight to a condominium and foreign cars and all of that.
I see you. I be seeing you. Yeah.
So people had to acknowledge that was way before I got out. That was already happening. The home I live in right now and the ones we rent out, the one I live in right now, we owned that before I came home. That ain't a house I bought. When I moved in a house I owned already. And so while I'm in this environment, I'm like the most investigated dude in that environment in the history of CDCR. Like who? There's nobody more investigated. Every little wannabe rapper want to know. We sitting here with you, and you come from everything I came from. You a G, and you want to know how'd you do that. So imagine my neighbor that think he could rap. How bad he want to know how I made that album.
Right.
And it ain't his fucking business.
Right.
He might not be my race,
yeah,
which in that environment is paramount. He might not be from my specific chunk if he was. So now you're not even a Keyway. And if you was, you're not even a Keyway from where I'm from. So this ain't your business still. It's really not your business if you're not from what I represent.
Right.
So you got all these factors and all these people that want to know how I did it. Some people who wouldn't even speak to each other, but I'm an anomaly, and they all want to, what's up, X? What's happening? But you don't even fuck with my people, right? They don't fuck with us. So I got it in my brain, a lot of things that I got to juggle in this environment, and people who feel envious, and they upset about that, like that this dude is doing all of this stuff. And so one of them persons that was investigating me like that kept asking questions, and some people I would help. If like this just a good dude, I've been watching, he's stand up, man, let me give him some game. I would if I felt like it was safe to do it.
Right.
But in this specific instance, when we looked up the individual that was doing the investigating, we found a case where he was giving up information on his loved ones, right? And so now I'm not from what they represent. I'm not a part of that group. At this point, I'm 18 years into my sentence. I'm not even really like I'm not a banger. I'm a gang member. I'm already focused on coming home. I've already got, through school, I'm doing all this other shit. So I don't feel like this. I got to go pursue this particular issue because it ain't my business. But here go. Hey, I don't know if y'all know, but this is your homeboy. And your homeboy asking me a lot of questions about my business. You need to have a conversation with your homeboy about this right here. I gave him the paperwork.
Yeah.
And their response to that was I guess they knew already or whatever, but their response to that was to tell him, hey man, this dude just gave up your paperwork and say that you did blah, 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 blah. So he got a whole other set of circumstances he dealing with.
Right.
And fuck him, you know what I mean? You ain't what you investigate my business for anyway. And now I see you telling on your own homies, this is how you got in that environment in the first place. So I'm like, you really shouldn't be talking to me at all. It ain't nothing to talk about. So, he got pumped up. They pumped him up. And so it starts circulating. This person want to do harm to you. And my psychology bought in. We talking about 2010. I've been X-rated in this environment, Spartan warrior. By the time these little marks got some opinion of anything I'm doing, I'm not even capable of being concerned about them. So I'm like, handle your business. That was my response. Handle your business. Do what you got to do. And so when they finally built up the courage to run up, you know what I mean? They got beat up. On camera, you know what I mean?
I think I saw it, but I didn't know if that was really what it was.
They got beat up on camera.
Yeah, because he stuck you, but it seemed like you still gave it to him.
Last man standing, see walking on the basketball court, because that's my touchdown dance. So I had a little bit of that going on. But it's just a circumstance where you gotta do what you gotta do. You pull a knife on me, I'm not running. that's how you get your back toe up. It's like straight up, it's called taking a life. I'm not giving nothing. Come and get it. Let's go. And then I'm looking in his eyes. That ain't what he really wanted. He wasn't built like that.
Yeah.
And I could see it. So it's a part of that video where you can see me actively trying to find somebody to fight. There's a point where I done beat up 2 people. I'm like, what's happening? Like, I thought it was on. It's on. We in all the trouble we gonna be in. We on camera.
Let's make it count. Yeah.
Let's make it count. And that's how I was built. And that's how I felt. And I technically still feel that way. It is what it is. Once it's going down, it's going down. It's going all the way down. I'm in trouble. I'm all the way in trouble. Then this is happening. I'm getting the punishment I get gonna be worth it.
Right.
Let's finish what we started. So that's all that was. And wannabe rappers are some of the worst people.
That's crazy.
For those of us attempting to do our thing. Nipsey was killed by an angry wannabe rapper, allegedly. All these different things. And
shit,
so,
they be nipping in my heels. I know.
They gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
The worst. Every real rapper, you ask them what's the worst aspect of this business, separate from money issues, and they gonna tell you it's wannabe rappers. The worst.
Oh, shit.
The single most dangerous thing to all of us. And so, that was their response to that. Oh, look, we got into it X-rated. Listen to our rap. And I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
Clout chasers, dick suckers, and you know what I mean? And rap bastards.
Yeah.
And so I felt like anybody quoting anything they had to say, that's your source material. Then, I said it on telephone game. You know what I mean?
So you in here, you handling your business. So let me ask you this, did you ever think you was going to get out?
I did. There came a point, so I was watching Miller versus Alabama, and this is years later, and now by then I'm validated. I'm a high notoriety PUB case, a public interest case. I'm celebrity status, so you got New York Times and came up in this space, the LA Times, the Playboy magazine, the XXL, the Source magazine, the Bay Guardian, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Sacramento Bee. All of this has happened. MTV coming into the facility, Fox News coming into the facility to interview me with like this, cameras lit up.
Yeah.
And you're in the population having to watch that, right? So a lot of what was going on in my life was difficult for people to tolerate, but whatever. So they validate me, they give me celebrity status, high notoriety, PUB, all these different things that happen. I got that letter from Tukey that kind of impacted my gang classification, and then the letters that I was getting from Sanika, so that technically I ended up doing a total of 7 years in the dungeon before I finally accepted. Like, I'm not out here trying to hurt nobody, and I'm not trying to cause no problems. I just want to do my time. You know what I mean? So I was able to get that status and just do my time. Yeah. And so, like, I think of African Americans, only 3 of us ever with my particular classification was just me, Tukey, and Monster Cody. In the history of CDCR, and everyone else with that particular classification were Panthers and people that they just threw in the dungeon and never let out. Yeah. And they didn't have the celebrity part of the classification. They just had the high notoriety or the public interest case part of it, or actually just the high notoriety and the validation. So I had a high notoriety, a validation, and a public interest case designation. And me and Tukey and Sanika are the only 3 African Americans to ever have that classification.
So you figure you kept the faith that you was coming home. So when
I don't know about it. I fostered the faith that I was coming home. Okay. It was a fostered faith.
Did your family stand with you? Did they support you through that?
I feel like they did the best they could. You know, I went through a metamorphosis from being this wild and dangerous and angry human to somebody who developed into a thoughtful person, a person that was more of an empath. I started understanding how to have empathy for other people. Be conscious of what their causative factors were. And so
exactly.
Later on, I became a more tolerable spirit to encounter. And I did that on purpose. There was this point where I became conscious that this animal I had created for my survival was inappropriate for my family interactions. I would call home and some of this is bleeding into that. And then I would go back to the yard and it's like, so I felt like everybody had to meet the same dude. I had to marry my psychologies. I'm gonna be X-rated or whatever they perceive X-rated to be. They meet him. They gonna meet Honore. It's all the same.
Exactly.
And I flipped that switch. I understood there need to be a difference. This character, this effort that I'm putting into this, it's realer. This is doper anyway. I love who I am, and they gonna meet me. And so I started making my mama's son walk that yard. That last 8 years of my time, last 9 years, everybody met Jazz Brown's son.
I had to do the same thing, bro. Like, as we grow and as we evolve, like people would tell me as I got older, because sometimes even he said it just recently. Sometimes I can appear to be unapproachable. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean to be, but you know, sometimes it's just that, right? But,
I think that's unfair.
You know, hey,
I know where it comes from.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
unfair.
It is unfair.
I hate that.
It is unfair.
It happens to me a lot.
It is unfair, right? And I don't even mean, you know what I'm saying? But people now that I have evolved in my mind. So if my mind is different, my energy, my spirit's different. You know what I mean? And people will say, you know, you're so nice. You know what I mean? And I take it as a compliment.
I'm hella proud of that.
But I always say, you know, but people be like, but man, people say this about you, or I heard this about you. And I say, I am nice, but I'm nice. You're not my enemy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's no reason for you to see that other, you know, side.
Yeah. Even at my craziest, I was never a threat to a civilian.
Right. And I was raised like that. And I think that's the defining difference between this generation and our generation, because we didn't put our gun on civilians.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're going to rob somebody, you're going to rob somebody in the game. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do something to somebody, it's somebody that's in the same bullshit you in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to go rob the
We probably was dumb enough to rob a civilian, but we wouldn't hurt them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might have had to come up off some items. But it's
we
like they
never
was
did
going to
that.
make it. We was stupid.
Yeah.
It was real in the South Side.
Yeah,
And
we
in the
never
city
did
as a
that.
whole, it was wild in Sacramento. Like what you doing with that? You got to come up off of
Say,
that.
that's
But you going to
mine.
make it home, though. You know what I mean? No intent at
Yeah.
all. It's like they don't know it, but like there's no one here that wants to hurt.
Right. You
know what I
said
mean?
they don't know it, but
They don't know it, but we do. Like, we just want your
Yeah.
stuff. You straight, though. You're going to make it out of this.
So let me ask you, bro, because, I mean, you've been through a lot of times in the black community, we don't address the mental part of it.
PTSD like a motherfucker.
Hell yeah. So did you do that work yourself, or did you have to go see somebody? Did you finally sit down and talk to somebody and they walk you through it to be able to get to where you are now? Or just soul searching and understanding what's going on with you, figuring you out?
I started studying psychology in that environment, like literally. And then I got my degree in personal psychological development. And so while I was doing that, these teachers, first it started with counselors. It's like, you have to go do this. My big homie Dooney, of all people, is the one who told me I had to go do self-help groups because for when these laws changed, because he felt they were going to change, and he was at Quentin at the heart of it. And so he's like, you have to do these self-help groups. So I started doing anger management and all that, and those programs were ran by licensed psychologists and clinicians. And I would get in there and they would be like, this fucking dude is like, what's up with this dude?
Yeah.
Where'd you learn this stuff?
Yeah.
Reading.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, this class, they keep me after class, people would leave, and the doctor would say, I haven't had this kind of engagement in this program for 10 years. You just walked in here and everybody wants to be in this class now. I got my list is around the corner. Like, I would really like if you continue to participate. So it was a lot of people advocating. Once I started participating in decent things, the power that came to support that was significant. It was really significant and largely female. And so I had a lot of really proud, older minority women who said, see, they aren't all trash.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like a social worker who's been doing this and every day is just the same, and they're trying to say, and then something else shows up and they just like, I told you, they're not all trash. And then I'm like, shit, I ain't the only one.
No, real talk.
You know what I mean? I can, and so I'm bringing people who would never go to these programs into those programs. And I didn't even know I had that influence until I understood what they were saying, but I went to this one group and I didn't care for it. And at that time, I didn't have finesse. So I just left. And when I left, I took 80% of the class with me inadvertently. I just left. And so they came to my door and was like, are you willing to come back if we're willing to do the modifications that you're requesting? And I was like, yeah, why do you ask that though? And they told me, we have lost 80% of our class by you walking out of that room.
Wow.
These people, the young men that followed you in or engaged because you walked out when you walked out and never came back.
Wow.
And I was like, they had certain aspects focused on religion too heavily instead of my perspective was this: you can develop spirituality, but this is a psychological issue, but also positively reinforced by this is how you get out of prison.
Right.
So they want this sincere ass, fuck all that.
Yeah.
We want them to be sincere, but the way you get them to sincerity is by positively reinforcing what's going to make them want to be present, and that's a desire to go home.
Right.
So how do we address the issues plainly without no games? Like the parole board requires you to do this way.
Right.
Like, let's get to it. And when they finally let me do that, people started showing up. And then through the course of time, they started sincerely doing it. And they saw that it would, you know, they had the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
I'm like, this environment ain't motivated by this bullshit. So God forgive me, but they ain't motivated by religion.
Right.
They not motivated by spirituality.
Yeah.
They motivated by, I want to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
And use that motivation to say, this is going to require some degree of sincerity because these people have heard all the bullshit. So you go in the parole board and you think you're going to game your way through that, you're going to have a negative experience because they didn't heard it all. They got more game than all of us. I'm like, they have heard it all the bullshit.
So you locked up and you on what? You rolling up on damn near 30 years. So when did you start seeing that light come through that you may get? Did you know that you were going to get paroled, or was it just another, I hope, you know what I'm saying, a hope and a prayer?
It was everybody telling me, like, you got action. You're going if this law changes. So we're watching that law, and then in 2012, the ruling in Miller versus Alabama was, I mean, this is USA Today fucking front page news shit. The Supreme Court ruling, and then that trickled down to the states, and then Governor Brown was elected, and then he had specific policies that he wanted to implement, and so these things made it to the Senate, and they altered Senate Bill 260. Lonnie Hancock, Senator Lonnie Hancock, Senator Harris, now our vice president. These people altered something stating that unequivocally, due to the development of the brain, advances in neuroscience, it's been determined that the age of maturity in a human being is 25, and therefore any crime committed prior to that by a juvenile should not be considered unredeemable. They should have a realistic opportunity for parole if they could demonstrate that they don't pose an unreasonable risk of violent recidivism in the community. And so when that happened in 2012, one of my artists was with me in that environment. He came to the door like fucking Moses off the mountain. His hair's blew out, his fucking skin is bronze. He's standing there like, he looked like Doc from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
He was like, bro, you gotta read this. I'm like, what are you getting? He's like, man, you going home. He fucking starts crying and shit. Like, got off the door, he couldn't even stand there and look at me.
Damn.
He's like, you going home, bro, I'm telling you. And this is the person got Block Star tatted on his neck. And when he walked to the door, logos, I told him I got a life sentence. Told him I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna build all this. I'm gonna sign you. I got you for everything you've done. I'm gonna have your back when I come home. He believed me with a life sentence.
Yeah.
And now he's in my building right now waiting for me.
He
to
had
get
a
off
life
this
sentence
plane.
too?
He did not. He had a 12-year sentence on a robbery, and was a beast. So he got in trouble in his points. He had like 300 and something points by the time I met him.
Wow.
He's a complete fuck up.
Yeah.
And I stopped him in his tracks.
Yeah.
I told him I'm very similar to you. I grew up just like you, and you're an idiot. And I need you to wake up. It was New Year's was coming. I big brothered him. I told him, you know what your New Year's resolution is? He was like, what? I said, grow up.
Wow.
Grow up.
Yeah.
Your fucking 2011 New Year's resolution is to grow the fuck up. Just decide it.
That's real shit.
You're a man. You have a man's body. You have a man's brain. All this shit now is a decision. You decide to grow up this year. Do it. Period. Everything, your body's waiting for you. Your family, everybody waiting for you to decide you grown.
That's real shit right there.
And he wrote that shit down and fucking did it.
That nigga wrote down, grow up.
He wrote down, decide to grow up. Yeah. And then grew up that year.
Yeah.
Flawless performance.
Damn.
And for that reason, he at the building right now.
That's real shit. So you do another 8 years.
I do another 8 years. So I went and got on the phone, told my people, yo, look this up for me. There was some skepticism. Like, look this up for me. That conversation progresses and the excitement builds as this is being read back to me. And then I get hung up on, like, I'm getting, hung up on me. Calls the attorney. The attorney tells her, I'll have him out in 3 years. He'll be home in 3 years. And it took 5. From that moment, it took 5, 6 years.
Wow.
Took 6 more years.
So that's not a compassionate release that they let you out?
That is not.
Okay.
I was I went to Commissioner Roberts and Deputy Commissioner Fleming, to the governor, the lieutenant governor, to the governor, to my house.
Okay.
Boom, 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 boom. I had to get past them.
Yeah.
To go home.
So what was that feeling?
Ain't no game.
When they came and told you was going home, what was that feeling like? Did you break down? Was it emotional, or you was like, nah, I knew it was coming?
I knew that one was coming because I went 1.5 times before they let me go. Mm-hmm. So the first time I went, I had one of the longest deliberations ever. They deliberated for 7 hours the first time I went to board. Mm-hmm. And I got homies that's been to board 10 times that's still in prison. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, Manson went, I don't know how many times Charles Manson went and just died in prison. They never let him go. And so I went my first time and had a 7-hour deliberation. I remember something along those lines of 7-hour experience total. And my lawyer during that deliberation going from I don't know, to this is taking a long time, to who's picking you up. Mm-hmm. You got your clothes, like, you know, to this is taking too long. So they're going to bring you back and they're preparing the victim. And then we walk in and that's what it was. You know, they were aware that I was done, but that people weren't prepared for it yet. Mm-hmm. So they like, if he keeps doing what he's doing, we all should prepare ourselves for the inevitable reality that he's going to go home.
Right.
And so that kind of was him preparing the family, different people for embrace this reality, and then tells me to go back to the yard and stay out of trouble. Yeah. And my lawyer kicks me when he says that because at this point I've mentored probably 40 people that have been before the board. They're showing up saying, who helps you prepare this? Honorary Brown's my sponsor. The rapper X-rated. Yeah. So by the time I walk in there, they've seen me preparing people, other people. I've had people go home before me,
before you,
who I had prepared for parole with relapse prevention plans from these groups that we were sponsoring. And so I did have that to my advantage, but my lawyer kicked me because we know when they send you back to the yard, it's go get your GED, go get a degree, go get a vocation. They ain't go stay. I could stay out of trouble in my living room. You know what I mean? You can let me go home. You want me to stay out of trouble.
Right.
But so he's like, for them to ask you to go back there and basically do nothing for 18 months means that you're leaving here in 18 months.
Let me ask you, you said something interesting, and I hope I'm not overstepping with this question. Like you said, you brought up the victim's family. Mm-hmm. Have you ever spoke to them, or, you know what I mean, had any dealings with them? You know what I mean?
Some peripheral dealings and some stuff I wasn't just legally allowed to do, right? But in that instance, I was able to communicate and express myself to them. Mm-hmm. And I waited a long time and probably came to this understanding mentally of why that was necessary as a human being, human behavior. Mm-hmm. So I was able to do that in that experience. And then when they brought me back in 18 months, I was able to do that again. But other than that, I'm not legally permitted to do that.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, I would be committing a crime to even try to do that.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. So, man, they come get you. They say, Honoré, you going home.
Yeah, well, they say we have granted you a parole release, right? And now it has to go it goes up now. So it's lieutenant governor and governor. They have to sign off on that because of my particular, you got life and your gang enhancement, all this. So this has to be signed off by the governor.
Right.
They have to approve it. And so I went back and I'm in an approval process from May to September.
Okay. So when September comes, they call your number, and you know you walking out them gates.
Yeah, in September they called me to the counselor's office, and they sent me to grief counselor office too. So we all know that's the grief counselor building. So if they call you over there, somebody died or something. So I'm worried about my mom. I'm not even thinking about parole at this point. I'm like, man, because I thought my paper was just gonna come in the mail or whatever. And so I went over there, and then he was like, man, anybody told you yet? Which made my stomach drop, because I had managed to do all this time and only lost one of my elders, and we kind of knew she was going to pass. She had MS. So I was really conscious that I didn't want to lose my elders. I seen my friends lose their mom, dad, grandmothers, everybody while they were gone. And so I'm like, told me what? And he was like, you're going home. I was like, what? I said, when? He said, Friday. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, nobody told me shit. He's like, we haven't filled out none of the paperwork, nothing. They just told me, you leaving. They knew what they was doing, you know what I mean? So because I was high notoriety, PUB, celebrity status, and validated, they had me on high power transport. So anytime if I had a bad tooth and I had to go like Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. Right? Something else that none of these other rappers, you know what I mean? Nobody gave a fuck. They put them in a van and take them to the doctor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to be moved with armed guards. They moved me like that. And so they kept that to themselves to the last minute. So I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna ambush you on my way home, right? This is the dumbest shit.
Right.
I'm gonna send a team, SEAL Team 6, to come and break me out of being let out.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest shit ever, but that's what they did. They did all of this subterfuge. They were like the 49ers leading up to the draft. No one's gonna know who we're really picking.
Nobody.
No one's knowing if we're letting him go, what day. Like, that's how they were doing me. And so he tells me, and we scramble and get all our shit together, and then I was with Lyle and Eric Menendez. We were together. Who they were significantly instrumental in, like, getting me ready and teaching me about stocks and real estate, and that's who kind of had first embraced me.
The Menendez brothers.
The Menendez brothers were supremely involved in my advancement as a human being.
Wow.
Because it had to be somebody I respected.
Yeah.
And so I respected their intelligence and I respected their economic status. And so I didn't, they wasn't pretending to be gangster. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that I didn't have to worry about that part. But Lyle Menendez was one of the first people that told me I was full of shit before my whole life, really.
Really?
Yeah. He told me I was full of shit.
Why he tell you that?
Because I was outside in the packet gang members. I was working out. And I came in and he asked me, he was like, play chess with me. And so I was playing chess with him, and he told me, he said, I saw you outside and I couldn't help but think, he said, all due respect, that you're just full of shit. He's like, you're nothing. He's like, you're blending in.
Yeah.
He's like, you're a sore thumb. You're the only one. If you are serious, you think that's what's up. You're the only one that thinks that.
Wow.
Everybody around you is hyper aware. You're standing there. You're the only one not paying attention to how you're impacting your environment. Man.
Damn.
It's like, so you're either full of shit and pretending that that's normal, or you're oblivious. And I was oblivious.
What was your response to him saying that?
I laughed.
I
laughed.
Did you understand what he was saying?
I did.
Okay.
And I also knew it was true.
Yeah.
I was oblivious and I was full of shit.
Damn.
Yeah, I was both of those things. I'm already MTV interviewing me on the yard, coming with cameras. All that shit is occurring.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on the front of the newspaper. I'm in the magazines. I'm like, I'm a rapper.
Yeah.
A fucking rapper. I saw 100,000 copies of Vengeance Is Mine the first week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Vengeance Is Mine was already out. It's like, come on, bro.
Yeah. So he mentored you in a sense.
He mentored me in the truest sense of the word mentor.
Wow.
Lyle Menendez, and he gave me his brother. So I transferred to a facility where Eric was, and I showed up, and he came to me and said, my brother loves you. I love you too.
Damn.
And showed me a letter where he was like, hey, Alex is coming, blah, blah, blah. And he gets there.
Wow.
Act like I showed up. And so he did.
Mm-hmm.
And these are two people who had the keys.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were somewhere, they were at the top of the population in terms of power and influence, for sure. And they handed me that. So they were the ones who kind of transitioned me from showing up and I don't give a fuck what a cop think about me. I'm a gang member. Like, what the fuck I want the cop to care who the fuck I am for? You know what I mean? To the warden, it matters. Your relationship with the warden matters. You fucking X-rated. Like, get the fuck out of here. I got X-rated here with me. You gonna help me. I want a fucking program on this yard. I've been trying to get for weeks. I can't get the African Americans to participate. You about to come and join this fucking program, period. And I'm going to put all this shit in your file. And they were the first ones who clean your fucking file out, put this good stuff on top of all your bullshit you were doing forever. And I get you the fuck out of here. So they were actively, it was a project for them.
Wow.
I was like Project Menendez.
And they just did that. I mean, they didn't have no dog in the fight. They just seen something in you and just.
They had a dog. I was the dog in the fight. They're my boys, man.
Yeah. I'm saying, you getting out or staying there, it really it had no bearing on them.
It did have bearing on them.
How so?
Well, because the same law that got me out, it will impact them as well. That same ruling.
They were young, right?
Okay. They were young.
Okay.
But the 260 doesn't apply to people that have LWOPs yet. And it's a travesty of justice. It should. And the whole fucking point of the law, the original conversation, was the fact that these people were discussing LWOPs and capital punishment and cruel and unusual punishment. But those of us right under them are the ones who reap the benefit. So I benefited from a law that originated from a discussion about cases like theirs.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm kind of the poster boy for it, and my success and me doing well strengthens the argument that they'll do well. Them dudes ain't gonna never hurt nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they wasn't
they come
to
home.
begin with. But
yeah,
you think they coming home?
I think that I do. I think it's gonna be a while. I think there's still some work to do for laws to change. But if there's anybody who should not be there anymore, it's Eric and Lyle, man.
Wow,
they've done a lot.
How
for a
old
lot
were
of people.
they when they did that alleged crime?
I believe one of them was 20. One of them was probably 22, and one of them's like 19 or something like that. It's like now? 19 and 23.
They're out of they now.
They're well into one of them just turned 50. Remember what we called for his birthday, and then the other one is just under that. So it's like
You still in contact with him?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, took his daughter to dinner.
Yeah.
You know, my whole team takes care of her. She's supported.
That's dope. That's dope. So you get out, you're doing well. You know, you got Block Star, you got your compound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You taking over Vegas. You planted your flag.
Yeah.
So what's the next chapter for X-Rated? Let me ask you this. I'm sorry, before we do that. When you got out, was it an adjustment? What was the biggest adjustment? Because now you got social media, you got smartphones, you got all this shit. What was the biggest? Did you feel like
I had all that shit in the pen?
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when phones came out, I had one in my cell. Like I put albums out.
Okay,
like,
right.
You know what I mean? Phone
right.
came out, two-way pager came out, all that shit. I had all that shit. Any new fucking thing that came new.
So you basically you just wasn't on the street. You didn't
I
do
was.
Shit. Yeah.
I'm like, my brothers call me Marty McFly.
Yeah.
They like this nigga's Back to the Future. You know what I mean? So for me, I want all the technological shit. I want that. So for me, showing up free in 2018, it was like, fuck yeah, this is dope. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, so you was just so most you didn't miss shit. You was just locked up.
Yeah, I ain't missed much of nothing, man. I was engaged in almost everything. So the stuff I did miss was related to certain aspects of socialization.
Yeah, right.
That you just cannot prepare for it because you're not, I wasn't socializing with civilians.
Right.
Even though I'm socializing with convicts and criminals who desire to be civilians,
right?
They're learning and pretending.
Yeah.
So you don't know that until you get into natural socialized circumstances that you were in an unnatural socializing situation. I didn't realize that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it was drastically different being home and dealing with people and proximity, how people interpret space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I need my certain amount of feet.
I'm still like that too. Yeah, I'm like that. And I ain't never done time like that, but I don't know. I think that's a hood thing.
It is a hood thing.
Some, especially different cultures, they don't understand private space and that. You know what I mean? Yeah, little nuances.
Even some of ours.
Yeah.
And the difficulties. Every now and then I feel blessed, and I believe in the concept of purification of wealth. I just believe that, and so I'll be like, hey, can I buy lunch for y'all, or drop some money on the table and tell them, man, have a meal, man. That's beautiful. You took your kid out to dinner here.
Yeah.
And I'll pay for that and leave. I do it on my way out.
Yeah,
so
that's
that,
beautiful.
You get these people, and they'll ask what's your name. I wouldn't even say I'm X-rated. I'm a rapper. I'll tell them my mama named me Honore. It's nice to meet you. I'm gone. It wasn't about, I don't need them to follow nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't for that. And so I would do that. I noticed the difficulty it was. People struggle with the concept of kindness out here.
Yeah.
And now you got to think, I'm in a world where they're fixated on, are you coming home to hurt people? Yeah. I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm gonna show love to people. I'm gonna treat people well. Like that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know that I gotta be technically better. I gotta come home and behave better than the average person who's never harmed society, that has something they got to live up to or fix, or some motivating factor for them to do better. So I'm coming home realizing like these motherfuckers that built me into a bionic man of psychology, sociology, philosophy, all these different things, and how I have to interact just to come discover that people fucked up out here. Like they the ones that need the motherfucking, y'all need conflict resolution, nonviolent communication, parenting programs, Abraham Maslow, they need that shit.
Yeah. And in this last year, it's been more apparent. You know what I mean?
Man.
It's how we treat each other and how we handle each other.
That shit's wild.
It's crazy.
That's fuck.
I mean, like when it first hit in March, the COVID thing, and people in the store fighting over toilet paper.
It was ill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, and that ain't happening just for society, for everyone in society, globally.
Yeah.
In 100 years. So
yeah,
just watching it was like, man, we were like savages.
It was like the zombie apocalypse.
It really
like
was.
They were coming. They're marching from another city, and it'll be here in a second. It just was COVID.
It really was.
And I'm like struggling with. I don't even know that I give a fuck. Like we got to deal with this shit. It's gonna be with us. I'm telling my people like we got to deal with this. Whatever this is, fuck that. What we gonna do? Like this, is what I believe we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Not just. Yeah. We just gonna experience it, and that like that shit is an action. Experience requires action.
Hell yeah.
So I really encountered COVID with a significant degree of indifference to it in terms of what it meant economically or all of that. To me, it meant smash. We're all right. You got the mask. Y'all do what you got to do, and or everybody's worried about toilet paper. I was like, I'm getting a building.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the building, bro. Yeah. So you get out of prison. You stay on Block Star in Vegas, you get a compound. You know what I mean? So what was the motivating factor behind that? Like what made you say, you know what, I'm gonna start an entertainment company, we gonna get it. We ain't gonna do just some little basic shit. We gonna do it. Like what was your motivation with that?
I was motivated by the fact that when I was a kid making music, I had nowhere to go and I had nowhere to remain. And I felt like that was a contributing factor. And, I did my 12 steps and all of that, and you do your step 4 and your step. And this stuff was revealing to me that a lot of the contributing factors to my things that went wrong were a lack of environmental protection. I didn't have places to go to be safe.
Right.
And where I didn't have to be pretending to be this guy, and to the point where I believe I'm this motherfucker now. I'm the Terminator. I believe it. It's all bullshit, right? So I had to understand that. If I'm gonna do this, I got to give the culture a home in this particular location, and I got to give these people that I'm about to invest in and build their valuation as individual micro businesses. I had to give them a home. So when you come to do this, you do not have to return to that other energy unless you're a visitor when you do that. And that's been said to me now. When they go home, they're like, that ain't home no more. They walking around where they from ready, like, I got to get the fuck out of big bro. I need a ticket.
Hell yeah.
Right back. I hate it. They share their locations.
When I go to Kansas City, I'm in and out, bro.
Yeah.
I'm in and out. I tell people all the time, man, like Boosie said it, back where you from, when you get some success, man, you got to get out of there, bro, because they hypnotized with hate. You know what I'm saying? Because you got people that started from where you started from, and they feel some kind of way. It's different.
Who Courtney think he is?
Yeah, real talk. I get that all the time.
That's just Courtney.
Yeah.
Like, what you mean? That's Big Court.
Yeah.
You gonna respect that. Somewhere else, they like Big Court. At home, they like who he think he is.
Oh, come on, man. You already know. Most of your hate comes from where you from. Like me and P, we travel the whole United States and even the world. No problem. We never have no problem. But what do you think the irony is that when we go to New Orleans, we have our bodyguards, we have police escorts. It's like the fucking president. Yeah. That's where the biggest threat comes from.
And it's also, y'all don't have to fuck nobody up.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You got all the security to protect them from y'all.
Yeah, because if I do something, which, I have, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it always comes back to, even if it was me, it goes to P.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's bad press.
It's bad press. It's like, but the biggest threat comes from the home soil. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much everybody that I know that has attained a level of success. Of course, you got people that love you and you got respect, but it's like the hate is a little more vitriol. It's a little more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Personal.
It's very much more personal.
Yeah.
Because they think they know you.
Yeah.
And they think they know who and what you are.
Exactly.
And then they think that what other people perceive you to be is not real.
Right.
And the truth is the reverse.
Yeah.
That
and then it's
the
a thing
way
of
these
entitlement.
other people perceive
It's a thing of entitlement too. Because then they feel like, it's like, I hate him.
Why
from here? Why he ain't doing this? Why he ain't doing this for me or for us? It's a thing of entitlement too.
That part, or they think it's supposed to be them.
Yeah, real
it ain't
talk.
even supposed to be him.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I hear that. My city, a very, volatility is a real thing in Sacramento right now, and you got certain people that's doing their shit.
Yeah,
and some people sincerely believe, like, why is it that person?
Yeah.
And I'm like, nigga, am I the only one who getting a bar of this work ethic?
Right.
I don't give a fuck what color they rag is, or what section of the town they from. Am I the only one appreciating that this motherfucking work ethic is amazing?
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you about that. So now you come home you the OG, you the elder statesman now of your city. You know what I mean? You put it down for the city, but now it's new. It's new youngins that's doing their thing.
Yeah.
Some of them from the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What you know, where do you fit in the politics of all that? With Mozzy and, you know, some of these other guys. Primarily Mozzy, because he's a red rag. We know that. You know what I mean? And I know he had words with, it was Lynch, you know, and you know what I'm saying? So, like, where do you fit in all of that?
Man, that's some deep ass shit. Like, first of all, the first thing we gotta say is you gotta salute the young man for his grind. You know what I mean? The brother's work ethic is probably unparalleled. If it's only a couple people you could say from where we from that have worked that hard.
He got a new song daily. Like, I feel like I see a new song every day.
You know, and salute all that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's required. And he did that while I was gone, you know, free X-rated. He didn't have to be thinking about me. And so that says something about his spirit. And, you know, we both love Cedric Singleton. Or feel, I can't say what he love and don't love, but I feel like we both have a significant degree of favoritism toward Cedric Singleton. And Cedric Singleton loves the both of us. I can say that for sure. And so it would harm his spirit for me to have something negative to say about Mozzy. If I'm like, fuck Mozzy, I would get.
And at the end of the day, why would you?
It would bother us. I'm talking about it would hurt him if I did that.
Yeah.
And it's a person who, when it's, hey man, this forensic scientist want $15,000 to do this, so I can have my own independent paperwork when I go do this psychopathy examination. I didn't call the homies, right? It was Mama and Cedric, right?
Right.
Oh, that's done. Paid.
Yeah.
That was done. Hey man, it cost this much for this lawyer. I got 90% of it on my own. I need this much. That was done. It wasn't even an argument. It wasn't a demand. It was, this is what's going on right now. What that cost? This is how much it costs. Yeah, I'll be back at you Tuesday. That was done on Tuesday, right? Cedric, that same person would be opposed to me saying, fuck Mozzy, bro.
Yeah.
That would bother him. And I don't give a fuck who don't like that. You understand? And so when it come down to principles and morals and shit like that, you got some people who want me to stand on tenets based on hood shit. But I didn't get to call them and say these things. I had to call Cedric. And so Cedric that's a father figure to me. And I'm going to honor that because that shit is more important than some hood politics shit. Fuck that shit. If it come down to Cedric, fuck that shit. And fuck anybody who can't understand that that's more important on an honor scale, right? And that's how I really feel. So when we get into people's feelings, that's where I stand on that. But, you know, I love Sebo. And, he, you know, I'm sure he wasn't pleased by some of my positions. I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
Right? And it is what it is. But, I mean, you know, I love Sebo.
Yeah, yeah.
It is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. I love Lynch. That's my brother. I hear Lynch and tell him, I need you to stay out of that. I don't agree with this. And I don't feel like what this brother was saying that caused these issues was how people received it. I think that was fed by hate. I don't agree with that. I need you to stop doing this. And Lynch said, I understand. I respect that, big little bro. Little bro. I understand. And he stepped back on my request. I don't need you bickering with him over that because that issue comes from something that is a misunderstanding. That's not what he meant. I'm funking with Sebo. I'm funking with Rated. I'm funking with Bo. Just like I got to respect what they did in their era, they're going to respect what I did in mine. I can't be offended by that.
Right.
I heard somebody say, I am motivated by 3 great motherfuckers where I'm from, and I'm going to be as dope as that, and they're going to respect it just like I respect what they did. I think, sure, go get it. I feel like Kobe said the same thing about Jordan.
Right.
LeBron saying the same thing about the two of them. The greatness chases greatness.
Yeah.
And he identified a bar. He could have said, I'm going to be as dope as Kendrick Lamar existed. Jay-Z existed. He could have picked any of them. He said the 3 of us. So we set the bar. So I couldn't be offended by that. And I felt like anybody wanted to be offended by that just wanted to be offended.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was unacceptable.
Right,
but my little homies on the street level, my Mozzy people, my people ain't prepared for interaction. They're not prepared for integration. That's real. You know, it is what it is out there. And we far removed from that. I pass a waterfall when I drive to my home, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I pass a waterfall on my way home. Bunny rabbits and deer. I see longhorn sheep, bighorn sheep. You want to drive on it. I'm not. That shit don't mean
that ain't even
me.
your world.
Outside of lives are being lost, back and forth, and some of that is too painful for these two individual geographical locations to be able to do anything together. So even music is out right now. It just wouldn't be acceptable for people. With some, we're gonna lose people over even doing that. That's gonna cause a split. Yeah. And so it's like some stuff is just too soon. But in terms of pride, like I'm from Sacramento, man. I'm not opposed to seeing somebody from my city win. That don't harm my spirit. Right. You know what I mean? It's arguable in the barbershop right now that me and him, the two winning the most. Paper, activity, providing opportunities for other people. We winning more than anybody. And it's going to be discussed if you just, you know, period. There's some honorable mentions after that. But the hungriest, the grinding the hardest, the building and constructing something that is visible, tangible, we the two doing it. And so, you know, I salute that shit. I know what the fuck that took, man. This shit ain't easy. That's work ethic. Tremendous work ethic. I wish I had 20 niggas with that work ethic in my building. I got one right now that got that work ethic. His name is McIntyre. I'm trying to put that work ethic, that same work ethic, man, motivated just like that, right in my building. I need 20 of them.
And that's the thing about that you say work ethic, dog. Same thing with my city, you know. I rub a lot of them the wrong way, but they don't understand that it's from a loving place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not gonna coddle you. You know what I'm saying? Because I want you to win. I ain't gonna tell you just what you want to hear, and I know that you just spinning your wheels.
I seen you giving people the business.
Yeah, you know.
Be like, why you beat up on this? I'll be like, I'll just see your name and it'll be a comment. I'll be like, oh, that hurt. When he read that.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, dog, because I love my city just like you love Sac. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I've been fortunate enough to make it to the other side as yourself. You know, I've been successful. You know what I'm saying? I am successful. I've built successful businesses. I've had success in music. And one of my best friends is one of the biggest music moguls to ever do it, just like Cedric is for you. You know what I mean? So I have the information. So I'm trying to share the information with you, you know, but they take it so personal. You know, and you just got to tell a motherfucker, look, dog, it's not right. You're not doing that right. Like, a lot of your approach is antiquated. I don't mean to hurt your feelings. It's just that this is what it is now. I'm giving you, but it's so funny because like they say in the Bible, a prophet is not respected in his home.
He is not.
You know what I'm saying? So because it's coming from me, the lesson always been there, but because it's coming from me, you didn't get it. Right. You know, because you looking at P, you know, but you don't understand. I talk to P every day. The information that I'm getting from you is from experience and maybe shit I'm regurgitating from him that I'm sharing with y'all for free. Right. Because we ain't won yet. As a Sacramento had a movement. See, Kansas City, we have moments. So we haven't had a movement yet, you know, and a lot of it comes from, and I don't want to say, there are guys down there that do have work ethic, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
But I don't know. It just doesn't quite translate, and I try to help them and be big homie. But a lot of them, you know, and they going to be mad when they see this because they always think I'm trying to beat up on them. You know what I mean? But I try to, okay, you made a post. I seen it, the artist that you signed, right? And what did you say? You said the realest shit. I shared it.
Oh, I remember
you
that.
said, listen, you artists that think that you going to get the deal that homie got and your numbers ain't there, you know what I'm saying?
You just lost all your credibility.
You just lost all your credibility. Yeah. So what I try to tell artists, and you're a businessman, you run a whole, you know, conglomerate right now. So you understand that we in a social media age. How many people are subscribing to what you're doing? How many followers you got? How many views you getting? How many people are tapping in with who you saying you are? Yeah. Right? You got to do your work even before you get to me.
Word.
You got to do your part. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So a lot of times I still got motherfuckers trying to send me CDs and still trying to say, man, I got this song. And I tell them all the time, like, dog, I don't, man.
Ain't nobody listening.
Ain't nobody, you got to.
I'm like, you got an EPK?
Yeah.
Dude, you got it.
Yo, he'll be like, hold on. I mean, dog, I'm Hollywood when I say that.
You say,
I'm Hollywood
for
what is
so
it?
it's not you just gave them some information. They need to go get an EPK.
No.
What does C-Dub say?
No.
What does C-Dub say?
Shout out to C-Dub, the young blood artist I'm working with. I text C-Dub, and he a blood cat from Kansas City, and I say,
shout out to C-Dub.
I say, yeah, bro. I said, bro, you got an EPK? Send me an EPK. He say, "Hey, blood, let me Google that real quick so I can answer you correctly." You know what I'm saying?
I respect that.
Real talk.
I respect
real
that.
Talk. And I said, "Oh, you didn't know what that was?" He said, "Hell nah, blood. What is that?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dog, so." Dog, I just said that recently, Rated, and they said I was Hollywood. And I said, man, listen, your packaging, your approach. You know what I'm saying? Like, see, you have to paint the picture of who you are, what you're doing, send me the EPK. I need to see pictures. I need to see media reach, links, bio, what you've done, so I can see the complete package. You sending me a song. And then even when I go to the song, you got like 60 views. I'm like, dude, do your work.
Yeah,
do
they're
your
not
work.
even ready to be talking to you.
That's
one of the
saying.
most offensive things is when people think because a minority is in a position that they perceive to be powerful, that means they don't have to work no more.
Right.
Like, oh man, court got it. I could go over here and I could just give him this CD.
Yeah,
you're gonna be all right because it's court.
Right.
And it's like, nah. I'm in this position, and if you come the right way, you have an opportunity. Specifically because I'm in this position and you did it the right way.
And I've told them
you gonna get to cut corners.
I've told them many times I do have the power to move some shit.
Yeah.
If you have a buzz and you have something, absolutely. You think I can't go to bro and be like, bro, because I know what his qualifications.
You got P and me.
Exactly.
You got so many people to call.
That's what I'm saying.
And then my Rolodex get open, and we got Brian Shaft, and we got Dave Warner, we got Cedric Singleton, we got Wendy Day.
Exactly.
We got so many different options to go to if we felt like the person we were doing it on behalf of had that coming.
And then this is the other part, discipline. You know what I'm saying? Because, see, a lot of people, they say they want this until the work starts. It's like people that want to lose weight. You know what I'm saying? They all motivated, right? I want to lose weight. I want to look this way. I want to look this way. Then when you tell them, okay, cool, let's lose weight. So you need to go over there. You need to do 45 minutes on this. Don't eat this. Don't eat this. Eat this bland ass shit 4 times a day. Then it's like, I just wanted to take a pill or lose. You thought you wanted. They just want the results, but they don't want to do the work. So then I notice a lot of artists when I tell them, okay, cool, I try to help them. Like, man, content. You need to get active on social media.
Yep.
You need to do this, visuals, quality visuals, video. Get your cameraman. Hell, I haven't even paid for the shit. Oh shit, cuz I ain't no internet nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm a real nigga. I'm a rap nigga. I said, well, shit, you gotta make your mind up. What you want to be a successful entertainer, a rapper, or you want to be a street nigga?
Both feet got to be in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told him a bunch of times too, coming from where I come from. I was never involved in the gang shit, just around it. And it was happening all the time. And at some point in Sacramento, not being from that myself, I was like, bro, everybody's getting shot. Everybody's dying.
Yeah.
We say we're doing music, but ain't nobody around me got money.
Yeah.
And I left Sacramento. I'm born and raised. I'm born at Kaiser North.
Yeah.
Right to North Sac.
Yeah.
My whole life, 15-year-old mother. And at some point, I was like, what do you want to be? Like, I think I had an ex-girl. You met her, Leslie. Mm-hmm. Leslie was one of those, like, your boy just got shot on Larchmont, Florida. What do you want to be? And I said, not this. I'm out. Like,
yeah, man.
Like, I'm out.
Yeah, fuck all that, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? I moved here. I moved here. Didn't know anyone. Met this dude the year I moved here, 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And then
man, work ethic, brother.
I want to say this, man. It's a privilege to be here with y'all. We've been through a lot to come to these points, all of us individually. Yeah. And I'm big on the threads and how those threads lead to one moment. And so for us to be in this moment and everything in our lives to have led us to this particular moment, I'm grateful for it, man. I appreciate y'all. You, man, I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, brother. Likewise.
I am aware of that. This about you right now, though.
Come on, man. It's about you.
It's about you right now, man. This my 30 seconds.
It's about you.
Yeah. Man, you've done so much, man. If we watching and we hold you up, you somebody that when I say, hey, I want to show you somebody, I show them you. I'll say, look at this, brother.
Wow.
Check him out. Check this one out. You in that list of people that I use to motivate when I'm showing these youngsters. This is what it need to look like. This is how we can speak. This is how. And it's not just me. They can't. I'm not the one that wants to be the king. I want to be a king. I don't require the crown. I just want mine. You can have yours. It don't fit me. You know what I mean? And so I'm always trying to show them examples. It's not just me. It's other people you can look at. And it's not the ones that are unattainable. Of course, Jay-Z, like we mentioned Jay-Z. That ain't his fault. Yeah. You know, well, it is his fault. He grinded that hard, and now he is where he is. But to me, that's unrealistic for me to show this child now. It's decent. But they could perceive that's attainable. That's attainable. Me, that's attainable. This is how we did it. So I'm trying to show them something that could be realistically accomplished in their mind to allow them to go far enough to say, maybe I can go get. Maybe I can do the Jay-Z thing. Maybe I can do the Dr. Dre thing. Maybe I can. And we got to get far enough. Yeah. You know, the kid in the gym at the little school can't be like, LeBron. But you get to get to college, though. You like, I might get there go do that shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got to take these steps. So you're a prime example. I hold you up in that way. And I significantly and incredibly respect you. And right now I'm demanding a continuation of your excellence because I've been bragging about it.
I appreciate it, brother. Why he just do that? I normally give people so let me do my thing, bro. I appreciate you being here, bro. And on this podcast, I created as a platform to give people their flowers while they're here. I want to normalize that. You know what I'm saying? You the first one to do that for me, but I appreciate that. I'm gracious for that. Yeah. But I appreciate you, bro. I mean, you inspired me from a youngin'. You know what I'm saying? I felt like, you know, we grew up together, even though, you know what I mean?
Nah, we did.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I feel that way
about
other people.
Yeah,
so
straight up. And, man, just what you've overcome and what you represent, you know what I mean? And the message that you push and how you help those around you and inspire the world, because you do. You know, you have a compelling story, amazing story. So I want to give you your flowers, you know, and let you know I appreciate you. And I receive you as a brother. You know that. You know what I'm saying? You're my brother from another. You know what I mean? And you keep being great, bro. You know what I'm saying? And you know I'm always here, one phone call away. That's whatever that is, you know how that go. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's nothing but love.
I'm aware of that, and I accept it. Yeah. And I accept that challenge for continued greatness, too, because accountability is very important.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to let you down.
I ain't gonna let you down.
There we go. We got a deal.
It's all good, brother.
Let's get it.
Yeah, that's the homie.
All
right, one love.
Salute.
Yep.
All right.